Chapter 904. Riding on the giant turtle, they moved across the void. A whole month later, a vast territory appeared in the void in front of them. This was a magical land. Below him was a vast and boundless land with towering mountains and mighty rivers. It was a place full of vitality. In midair, countless floating islands floated. They were scattered all over the place, like a belt of meteorites that surrounded this vast land. Large flocks of birds had been happily flying around these floating islands. When a giant turtle flew across the floating islands, a group of white cranes hovered around the turtle, cawing, seeming to be greeting the group of people. So fat. I should grill them. It should taste good, right? Man raised her head and looked at the group of white cranes. She even started drooling. Burning cranes. This is really burning cranes. Jihao turned and glanced at Man. He didn't even know what to think. Feel this land. This is our root, the birthplace of our humankind. Si Wenming stared deeply at this fertile land, and the look in his eyes grew firmer and firmer. This is our land. Feel? Once they entered the area of Middle Earth, Qingming, Jihao, and the others all sensed something. It was like a wanderer who had left home and returned to his hometown. A strong and gentle sense of power lingered in the air, lingering in their hearts, as if a bloodline resonated in their hearts. Somehow, they were touched, and their eyes were filled with hot tears. Why do I always have tears in my eyes? Because I love this land so deeply. Jihao took a deep breath, as a poem from a poet emerged in his mind. This poem was actually quite appropriate in this place. But Qingming felt something different. He felt like he had become a seed, buried deep in the earth. Nourished by the fertile land, he had been taking root and sprouting. Showered by the sunlight, the rain, and the dew, he had grown strong and healthy. In the end, it became a towering tree that supported the heavens. Lordwood Emperor, Qingming was shocked. Was this the experience of Lordwood Emperor? This is you. The bloodline of Pangu, the power of Pangu, allowed you to connect with this land. To Pangu motherland, aren't you? Just a seed it spreads? The Wood Empress replied with a smile. Pangu motherland? Qingming didn't understand this new term. When Pangu created the world, he was attacked by countless chaos fiend gods. Even though he had killed all the chaos demon gods, he had used up too much of his energy. This world fell before it was even fully developed. The Wood Emperor gave a long sigh and continued, Pangu world, Midland, and the four wastelands should have merged into one. But now, the four desolates and the Middle Earth have not merged. Instead, they're separated in the void. The combination of the 5 great lands will create the real Pangu motherland. As the place where Pangu fell, Midland had some features of Pangu motherland. It's normal that you can sense it. I see. Qingming nodded as he understood. No wonder he didn't have this feeling when he was in the southern wasteland, but he had this feeling in the Middle Earth. It turned out that this was where Pangu fell, and where the 3 kinds of beings originated. This place was the land of the origin. Not bad. It seems that you all have gained something. Si Wenming turned and glanced at Jihao, Qingming, and Hung Luo, then nodded with a smile. It was the first time that these 3 little ones set foot on the Middle Earth, but they could all sense the origin of the earth. They were all talented. Hung Luo was a wood spirit, and she was born from the essence of nature. It was normal that she could sense the origin of the earth. Jihao and Qingming seemed to sense the origin of the earth more deeply than Hung Luo did, which was amazing. As for Man, Si Wenming didn't care about her. If he asked Man to sense the earth, she would fall asleep. Wouldn't she? Uncle Wenming, what is that place? As the gigantic turtle went deeper and deeper into the Middle Earth, in the distant sky, an enormous mountain range that stretched for millions of miles appeared between the sky and the earth. The majestic mountain peaks towered into the clouds, and the continuous mountain range was like an incomparably huge dragon, winding and crawling on the vast earth. What was even more shocking was that the entire mountain range was scarlet red. Even though it was still very far away, one could still sense the overwhelming fighting spirit from the mountain range. as if an endless war was burning in that mountain range, as if that blood-red mountain range was dyed with the blood of countless human beings. Over there, Si Wenming raised his head and looked at the mountain range in the distance, took a deep breath, and said, "That's Shiban City. That place is the front line that guards the humankind, guards this land." Turning around, Si Wenming looked at Ji Hao and Qing Ming with a serious face. The Middle Earth used to be a paradise, but now it has been engulfed in the flames of war. Behind the Shiban mountain range, that vast and fertile land has already fallen into the hands of the non-human kind. The non-human kind never gave up on killing us. Bloody wars have been going on in the Shiban mountain range all year round. At this very moment, countless human warriors are still fighting against the non-human kind in the Shiban mountain range, protecting this land with their hot blood. By the way, Shiban City is an authentic ancient Chinese name. Please don't associate it with the Japanese people. Uncle Wenming, we're going to Shiban City too. We're going to the front line too. Qing Ming raised his hand and yelled out passionately. No way. Ji Hao is dumbfounded. This guy, what is he doing? How could he be such an impulsive and hot-blooded young man? After spending some time with Qing Ming, Ji Hao clearly knew that this guy, who had shared the booty with him, was definitely a cunning guy who wouldn't do anything without benefits. It was impossible for him to get hot-blooded just because of a few words. Good boy. Good boy. Si Wenming nodded happily. What a good boy. For the greater good of the humankind, he didn't hesitate to throw his head away, shed his blood, and fight bravely. But you are still young, and you all have a bright future. There is no need for you to go to the battlefield now. Just settle down in the rear. Work hard on your cultivation. Improve yourselves. Among these kids, Hung Luo, who was the most powerful one, was only a new senior magus. Besides, none of them were weak. They didn't need to be sent to the battlefield as small soldiers. Indeed, in the Shiban frontline, junior magi were just ordinary small soldiers. No, I want to go to the Shiban frontline, Qing Ming said with a determined face. Uncle Wenming, the battlefield is the best place to train people. Between life and death battles, under great pressure, power growth is the fastest. You will die faster. Ji Hao complained his head. He didn't understand Qing Ming's strange action at all. This, Si Wenming pondered for a while, then nodded and said, How about this? I will go back to Puban City and meet the human Emperor Shun. After that, I will go to the Shiban frontline too. By then, you could be my guards. This was the best plan that Si Wenming could come up with to protect them. After going to the battlefield, Si Wenming would also have to fight. However, if they became Si Wenming's guards, they would at least have a higher chance of survival than ordinary cannon fodders. Therefore, these few people who had just come to the Middle Land and hadn't even stepped on the ground would go to the front line just like that. Chapter 905. Qing Ming, what are you doing? Why are you going to Shiban City? Ji Hao silently pulled Qing Ming over and asked him with a confused face. Of course it's to protect the humankind from the Middle Land, for stop bullshitting. Before Qing Ming finished, he was interrupted by Ji Hao. Ji Hao threw a scornful glance at Qing Ming, curved his lips downwards, and said, You can say that to other people. Hee hee. Qing Ming gave a weird grin, as if Ji Hao had seen through him, and said, I have a secret magic that can concoct essence spirit pill. This kind of pill can improve one's cultivation quickly. However, I need 2 portions of Senior Magi's spirit blood to concoct 1 pill. Even if I don't kill the non-human kind, I can't kill the human Senior Magi. Can I? How effective is it? Ji Hao's eyes shone brightly. 1 essence spirit pill can make a peak-level junior magus directly open an aperture and become a senior magus. Qing Ming proudly raised his head and glanced at Ji Hao with a proud look on his face. Great! Ji Hao laughed out loud, patted on Qing Ming's shoulder, and said, Good brother, everyone can have a share. Qing Ming speechlessly showed the whites of his eyes. Prepare the ingredients. Of course. Of course. Ji Hao laughed out loud. Killing a senior magus on a battlefield was not easy, but not too hard either. With Ji Hao and Qing Ming's powers, killing ordinary senior magi one-on-one would be a piece of cake. By then, their powers would soar. In fact, Jihao's guess was still wrong. Qingming's plan was even more cruel than Jihao's. Let's go, we're here. The caravan's gigantic turtle stopped beside a towering mountain. Si Wenming led the group of people down from the turtle, pointed at this mountain, and introduced it to them. This is Chong Mountain, also my home. Chong Mountain? So this is Chong Mountain. Jihao praised, but at the same time, another thought popped up in his mind. Before Si Wenming took over the throne of the human emperor, he had a title called Earl Chong. This place named Chong Mountain was surely Si Wenming's territory. At the foot of the mountain was a vast expanse of green wilderness. Countless people were working on farms. Paths crisscrossed and crisscrossed, chickens and dogs. This was a peaceful scene. As expected of the future human emperor, his methods of governing are indeed extraordinary. Sighing inwardly, the crowd followed Si Wenming to a simple house made of stone. You take a rest here. After I meet the human emperor, I'll take you to Chiban. After saying goodbye to the others, Si Wenming left Chong Mountain and headed to Puban City to meet Emperor Shun. The night passed in silence. Early the next morning, everyone was awakened by a series of rumbling footsteps. At the foot of the mountain, on the wide road, a group of giant tortoises were galloping towards them with thunderous footsteps. On the broad carapace of the land tortoise, groups of soldiers wielding spears and swords stood majestically. Huge flags stood tall and fluttered in the wind. Come up. Si Wenming stood on top of a tortoise at the front, holding the railing and waving at the others. He's here. After agreeing, the group flew down from Chongshan and quickly climbed onto the back of the tortoise. Uncle Wenming, these people... Jihao pointed at the group of soldiers behind them and asked Si Wenming. Reinforcements. Si Wenming slightly nodded and said, sit tight. We're going to speed up. Roar. The tortoise under their feet roared towards the sky, releasing an amber-colored light from the tortoise's body. Rumble. As fast as lightning, the entire troop was like an arrow shooting out from a bow, dashing at an extremely high speed. It took them half a month to travel at such a high speed. Chiban City was already in their sight. An enormous mountain range, extending for millions of miles, stood tall on the ground. Except for some ancient trees growing on the mountaintops, not even a blade of grass grew on the bottom half of this mountain range. Smooth cliffs, and between the mountain peaks, there was no soil, only rocks. What was even scarier was that the entire mountain range was blood red. Mountains, cliffs, even sand and stones in the valleys, all rocks in this mountain range were blood red, reflecting a blood red light under the sunlight. This was Chiban City, the front line of the war between the humankind and the non-humankind. Before Emperor Shun became the leader of the alliance of human clans, Chiban City had already been a natural dividing line between the humankind and the Yu dynasty. For countless times, non-humankind armies had launched attacks from the north, but the humankind had always relied on Chiban Mountain as the defensive line, firmly blocking the terrifying non-humankind army in the north. Over the years, the blood of too many warriors had merged with the rocks of Chiban Mountain, making the rocks of this mountain range even brighter red. Even though they were still quite far away from Chiban City, from a long distance away, they could faintly hear waves of tsunami-like roars and shouts of killing from the Chiban Mountain. Is the war so fierce? Thousands of miles away from Chiban City, they could already hear the sky-shaking noises of killing. How fierce was the war in Chiban Mountain? It's not so fierce all the time. Si Wenming turned around and grinned at Jihao and the others. This should be because the non-humankind has changed a new commander. The new commander is probably trying to make a name for himself. Hearing this, Jihao and Qingming glanced at each other in confusion. The non-humankind changed commanders often, so they weren't fighting seriously at all. Just like training soldiers, they were using the Chiban battlefield as a training ground. In fact, the non-humankind is even more powerful than us. Seeing the look on Jihao and Qingming's faces, Si Wenming immediately knew what they were thinking about. He gave a bitter smile and explained. His eyes showed a deep sense of helplessness. Except for the fact that the non-humankind didn't have as many weapons and supplies as the non-humankind did. The humankind was divided into different groups and couldn't gather all of their powers together. Even the internal conflicts were in a mess, and this was the most important reason. The non-humankind invaders came from another world. To all living creatures in our world, all kinds of creatures, the non-humankind is the enemy of all human beings. What a shame. Si Wenming sighed and continued. What a shame. The dragon kind hid deep in the ocean, and the phoenix kind lived high in the clouds. But neither of them joined the war. Only we, the humankind, have been fighting against the non-humankind. But inside our humankind. Speaking up to this point, Si Wenming slightly shook his head and remained silent. The tortoise kept moving. Gradually, the group of people arrived at the foot of Chiban Mountain. In front of them, flying beasts and fighting beasts were galloping in the sky. On the south side of Chiban Mountain, barracks had been built, extending for tens of thousands of miles. Countless warriors from all kinds of clans had gathered here and formed a large-scale allied force, starting a long-lasting war against the non-humankind. Uncle Wenming, I know how to craft weapons. At this moment, Qing Ming reached out his hand and took off the long sword tied around his waist, handed it to Si Wenming, and said, Uncle, I made this myself. The one that Ji Hao is wearing is also made by me. You made it? Si Wenming was shocked. I have noticed your armors and weapons long ago. It's just that I can't ask. I didn't think that it was you who made them. This is great. Great. Compared to the non-humankind's weapons and armors, the humankind's weapons and armors were not even at the same level. During these years of battles, the humankind had gained a lot of trophies from the non-humankind. After many researches, the humankind had slightly improved the weapons and armors of the humankind. However, compared to the non-humankind, the weapons and armors of the non-humankind were still way too weak. And now, the weapon in Qing Ming's hand was even better than the non-humankind's. Good boy. Good boy. Si Wenming patted Qing Ming's shoulder, his face filled with joy. Damn, you're planning this? At this moment, Ji Hao figured out Qing Ming's plan. I hope you won't be too greedy. Otherwise, the quartermaster will be beheaded for corruption. Chapter 906. Come, I'll take you to Master Lai Shan. After handing over the reinforcements, Si Wenming took Qing Ming and the others to a campsite set up in a huge valley. The valley was ablaze with flames. The scorching flames had dyed half of the sky red. Once they walked into the valley, a wave of heat hit their faces, as if they had stepped into a sea of lava. Scorching heat waves. Ji Hao was from the Fire Crow clan, and Man Man was Zhu Rong's daughter. To them, this sea of fire was like a home and was very comfortable. As for Qing Ming, after he had connected all of his meridians, his power was no longer pure wood power, so he didn't care much about it. However, Hung Luo couldn't bear it. Ah, it's so hot here. Hung Luo pulled on the leopard and frowned. As a wood spirit, Hung Luo didn't like fire. However, this valley was like a sea of fire, which made Hung Luo very uncomfortable. Master Lai Shan is the descendant of the Flame Emperor, and his ability to control fire is very powerful. It's normal that you can't bear it. Si Wenming smiled, waved his hand, and a yellow light flashed across the air, shielding everyone. Although Hung Luo couldn't bear it alone, Si Wenming still protected everyone. As the future human emperor, how could he not know the ways of the world? As they moved forward in the scorching hot valley, a huge magma lake was surging in the depths of the valley ahead. A group of muscular men, whose bodies were shining with fiery light, grabbed red iron bars from the lava lake and smashed them with heavy hammers. Bang! 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 The loud banging sound made people's eardrums hurt. Master Lai Shan, Si Wenming wants to see you. Walking to the edge of the lava lake, Si Wenming shouted towards the row of enormous stone houses behind the lake. Earl Chong is here. Come in. An old man's voice came from one of the stone houses, which was faintly glowing with red light. Let's go and see Master Lai Shan. Si Wenming led the group of people, bypassed the lava lake, and came to the huge stone palace, which was glowing with red light. Walking into the palace, there was a scorching hot furnace. A tall and muscular old man covered in flames pressed his hands on the furnace and poured his firepower into it. Count Cheung is here. Hearing them come in, the old man turned around and nodded with a smile. Last time, I stole a piece of metal or from the non-human kind. I spent a lot of effort, but I still couldn't melt it. Those five-eyed ghosts do have some tricks up their sleeves. Five-eyed ghost. Ji Hao and Qing Ming paused for a second. Three-eyed ghosts were Yu clan people. Four-eyed ghosts were Jia clan people. But what were five-eyed ghosts? Yu clan's master craftsmen. They have 5 eyes on their heads. Among the alien races, the Yu clan possessed top-notch skills. Weapons and armors, mechanical puppets, battle fortresses, and inscription arrays are all their specialties. Si Wenming explained to the crowd, then raised his head and cupped his hands towards the old man. Lord Lai Shan, Wenming has brought a genius craftsman. His talent in refining is no less than that of the Yu clan. Refining genius? No less than that of the Yu clan? Lai Shan was shocked. The flames spurting out from his hands instantly died out. He hurriedly turned around, popped out his eyes, and stared at Si Wenming. Where's he? Where's he? That's him. Si Wenming pointed at Qing Ming and said, Lord Lai Shan, this is Qing Ming. He's from the Qing Yi clan in the southern wasteland. Qing Yi clan? A branch of the eastern Yi clan? Aren't they archers who are good at wood magic? What kind of tools can they make? Count Cheung, are you kidding? Lai Shan raised his head and glanced at Qing Ming, then shook his head and said, that little girl from the Zhu Rong family and that little bastard from the Gold Crow clan, I believe that they can make tools. The Qing Yi clan can only make bows and arrows at most, right? Oh, wait. Lai Shan suddenly saw the armor worn by Ji Hao. His eyes instantly shone with a bright light. He hurriedly rushed over and fixed his eyes on the armor. He even reached out his trembling hands and stroked the armor, while clicking his tongue and praising, exquisite and sturdy. Whether it's the combination of materials or the carving of spell symbols, they've reached the limit of what the materials can bear. I'm afraid that only the master of the Yu clan can make such a good craftsmanship. Ji Hao felt disgusted. A dirty old man was touching his chest with his hands, with an intoxicated look on his face. This was torture. This is made by Qing Ming. This is made by Qing Ming. Ji Hao yelled out loudly while taking a few steps backwards without leaving any trace, dodging the evil claws of the old man Lai Shan. You made it. Lai Shan turned around and looked at Qing Ming. His face was filled with disbelief. Can the wood magic of the Qing Yi clan be used to make tools? I've mastered more than just the wood magic. Qing Ming waved his hand, and a beam of green light darted out from his palm. Within a moment, the green light of the wood magic turned into red fire power, then yellow earth power, then gold power, water power, and finally wood power. The 5 elements were circulating in an endless cycle. The Tao of 5 elements? You've got such an ability? At this moment, even Si Wenming was surprised. Initially, Si Wenming thought that Qing Ming had mastered some secret method of refining weapons, similar to the ability of Qi refinement warriors to refine magic weapons. He didn't expect that Qing Ming could even change the nature of his own power at will. This kind of ability was completely unexpected. You've mastered your power so well. It's not surprising that you can make tools. Lai Shan smiled, reached out his hand, and grabbed a huge axe. He handed it to Qing Ming and said, I haven't finished making this axe. It's the weapon of a senior magus of the Quafu clan. Give it a try and show me what you've got. Old man Lai Shan believed Si Wenming's words. However, Si Wenming didn't know much about crafting tools, as he wasn't good at it. He wasn't sure if Qing Ming was as good as Si Wenming said. As for what Ji Hao said about the armor being made by Qing Ming, Lai Shan didn't believe a word of it. How could such a young boy have craftsmanship comparable to a grandmaster of the Yu clan? I've studied craftsmanship for my whole life, but I'm still far from it. Even if you started crafting tools in your mother's womb, how good can you be? A senior magus of the Quafu clan? Quafu Juri, this group of fast men, don't they always use a stick to hit people? How could they use an axe? Qing Ming took the axe and felt it was heavy in his hand. The axe was so heavy that Qing Ming almost couldn't pick it up with his current strength. Since he wanted to use an axe, then he would refine an axe. Qing Ming picked up the axe and pretended to be crafting tools. In fact, Qing Ming didn't know how to make tools. Didn't he use the power of the war hall to refine artifacts? Boom! A wave of raging flames rose into the air, and as the blazing flames swept through the area, the gigantic axe instantly melted into a puddle of molten metal right before Old Man Lai Shan's dumbfounded eyes. The ratio of adamantine and black iron is not right. There's too much adamantine. Although it's harder and sharper, it makes the blade brittle. It's easy to crack. The explosive runes carved on copper can withstand more sorcery power and are more powerful. But they can easily damage the runes. They'll have to be melted down soon. Why don't we change them to sharp runes? As long as the weapon is sharp, it is enough. Qing Ming commented as he remodeled the battle axe, removed some materials, and modified the runes. Lai Shan's red face seemed to turn even redder when he heard these comments. When the flames disappeared, a shining battle axe appeared in Qing Ming's hand. The smooth arc, the cold and sharp edge of the axe. This was an exquisite and ruthless weapon. Master, Lai Shan knelt down. Master, please take me as your disciple. Even Si Wenming was shocked by Lai Shan's words. Chapter 907. Please don't do this. Qing Ming was stunned as well. He hurriedly stepped aside, daring not to accept the old man's salute. Didn't he hear Si Wenming call this old man Lord Lai Shan? This old man's identity must be terrifying. If Qing Ming dared to take Lai Shan as his disciple, even Si Wenming would teach him a lesson. Lord Lai Shan, are you trying to kill this little guy? Si Wenming came back to his senses, hurriedly rushed up, held Lai Shan up, and said, "You are the teacher of the human emperor. You took him as your teacher, but the human emperor called him Grandmaster Shifu? Qing Ming, this kid, can he still go out? Does he even dare to go out?" "Hey, you're right." Lai Shan rubbed his own head, shook his head, and said, "Yao Zhonghua, that bastard. How could he become the human emperor? I can't even take him as my teacher. How about, Si Wenming, you become the human emperor and let that bastard Yao Zhonghua give you the throne?" Everyone glanced at each other. Lord Lai Shan, only you would dare to say this. Lai Shan was Emperor Shun's teacher. Back then, when Emperor Shun was still a farmer, Lai Shan was the one who taught him martial arts. Although Lai Shan was only Emperor Shun's teacher when he was young, Emperor Shun still respected Lai Shan and treated him as his teacher. Fortunately, Emperor Shun didn't learn from Lai Shan otherwise. Ji Hao wiped his cold sweat on his forehead. Ji Hao wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. If Emperor Shun was as unreliable as Lai Shan, the humankind should have gone extinct long ago, right? Lord Lai Shan, my tool crafting skills are still very simple, and I need more guidance from an elder like you. Emperor Shun's teacher, this was a very scary thing. Qing Ming hurriedly bowed and saluted, flattering Lai Shan, as well as giving Lai Shan a great gift. What Qing Ming meant by asking for guidance from an elder didn't it mean that he would give Lai Shan his tool crafting skills and let Lai Shan learn them himself under his guidance? Yes, exactly. Si Wenming surely understood Qing Ming's meaning and hurriedly agreed. Lai Shan was not a fool after all. Even a fool could not become a tool-crafting master of the humankind. He also understood what Qing Ming meant. However, old Lai Shan's face seemed to turn even redder. "Qing Ming, you should stay here and learn from Lord Lai Shan." Si Wenming took Ji Hao, Man Man, and Hung Luo and left the crafting valley, returning to the headquarters tent. "Lord Lai Shan, these are the characteristics of the various materials and the methods to mix them, as well as the methods to construct the various tools. Please guide me." The Wood Emperor gave him a refining method, and Qing Ming gave it to Lai Shan. Good, all right. When Old Man Lai Shan held the thick stack of jade slips, his hands began to tremble slightly. With this refining method, the weapons and armors of the human race would definitely reach a higher level. Buzz, auspicious lights shone in the sky, and a myriad of golden lights shone. The mighty heavenly music resounded through the clouds, as if the great Tao was resonating, and the heavens and earth were praising it. Virtuous, great virtue, great virtue. Vaguely, there were colorful phoenixes soaring in the sky, and the 5 virtues shining. Boom! A bright yellow light descended from the sky, slowly descending towards Qing Ming. Merit, heavenly merit. Lai Shan was so excited that his entire body was shaking. Qing Ming gave him a refining method, and the heavenly merit actually fell from the sky. This meant that this refining method would bring immeasurable benefits to the humankind and to the entire world. Heavenly merit? Such an earth-shattering commotion alarmed countless people. Even the 3 pure ones and the 2 Buddhas were shocked. Is that the direction of Qi Ban? What's happening there? It's in Pu Ban City, the capital city of the humankind. Emperor Shun, who was dealing with political affairs in the imperial court, suddenly heard a high-pitched, buzzing noise from the Xianyuan sword hanging around his waist. It was as if the Xianyuan sword was cheering. At the same time, the 9-colored rice ear left by Shinnong and the 8-trigram turtle shell left by Fushi resonated with each other and glowed brightly. The fortune of the humankind has been greatly improved. As the human emperor, Emperor Shun clearly sensed at this very moment that a tremendous fortune power suddenly rose from the direction of Qi Ban City. The fortune of the humankind was instantly boosted up by a few times. What on earth is going on? Even if Qi Ban City won the war, the fortune of the humankind can't be increased by so much, can it? Emperor Shun walked out of the imperial court and came to the altar. He opened his double eye and carefully looked at the fortune of the humankind on the altar. Indeed, Emperor Shun was born with double eyes. However, this double eye of his was different from the double eye given by Li Yu to Qing Ming. Emperor Shun's double eye could only see fortune. This is seeing the fortune column on the altar. Countless images flashed across Emperor Shun's eyes. Iron-armored vehicles roared across the ground. Iron birds swished across the sky. Prosperous cities, towering buildings, all kinds of things in a mortal world, blooming flowers. The general trend of humanity swept across the world like tidewater. The great Tao of tools? I see. Someone actually created a great Tao of tools, developing the power of tools to an extreme degree, and thus improving the fortune of the humankind. Emperor Shun's face was filled with joy as he shouted towards the sky, "God bless the humankind." At the same time, in a space in the western sky, a linden tree and a golden lotus were shining with a bright golden light. 2 Taoists, who were sitting cross-legged, instantly opened their eyes. This is the fortune of humanity increased greatly? The great Tao of tools appeared? How can there be such a change? Didn't the great Tao of tools appear only in the age of chaos? Why did it appear so early? The Taoist sitting cross-legged on the golden lotus said with a bitter face, "The great Tao of tools disrespects gods and Buddhas. Everyone believes that they can change the world. Once this great Tao appeared, the fortune of our sect fell sharply. Then let's destroy it." The face of the Taoist sitting under the linden tree shone with a cold light. "Don't kill too much. This man is destined to be with our sect. Let's convert him and make him our disciple," said Taoist Golden Lotus with a merciful face. "Brother, you are so merciful." Taoist Bodhi put his palms together and smiled. "The founders of the great Tao of tools are all disciples of our sect. Isn't the fortune of the great Tao of tools the fortune of our sect? This man is indeed destined to be with our sect. Even if he isn't destined to be with us, then he must be under the Chiban Mountain, in the Crafting Valley. A gentleman's life is not strange, and he is good at making use of things." When the leaders of the Human Alliance rushed into the Crafting Valley with shocked faces, they saw Qing Ming, who was shining with a golden light, floating in the air and saying these words. Clang! The heavenly music was vast and mighty, and flowers fell from the sky. A gentleman's life is not strange, and he is good at making use of things. The heavenly music of the great Tao spread throughout the world. The human race didn't have the physical strength of the dragon race, and they didn't have the innate ability to control the power of nature like the phoenix. This was a gentleman's life is not strange. What was lacking in nature, it was made up for later. Using tools to change the world, he is good at making use of things. The moment these words were spoken, it was the foundation of the great Tao of armament. For a moment, a vast and mighty light of virtue shone over the world. Virtuous, virtuous, virtuous. Dragons and phoenixes were auspicious, and the world praised them. This is the heavenly music of the great Tao. Qing Ming achieved the Tao. Siwen Ming was dumbfounded when he saw this. They recruited a southern wasteland youngster, and they actually found a saint. Chapter 908. Great Virtue. Looking at Qing Ming, who is now surrounded by great virtues, everyone was filled with admiration and respect. Based on that world-shaking voice of great Tao, everyone knew that Qing Ming had created an immeasurably virtuous great Tao of tool crafting. Tool Saint. This was Qing Ming's new title. Greetings, Tool Saint. Not long after, all leaders of the Qi-Ban army and all human warriors in the campsite came to Qing Ming and bowed to him. Siwen Ming asked the human emperor for an imperial decree, and the title of Tool Saint Qing Ming was announced to the world. Lord Wood Emperor, this is too big, isn't it? After everything was done, Qing Stix was still at a loss. How could he have known that teaching Lai Shan a tool crafting method, as requested by the Wood Emperor, would cause such a great disturbance? Not to mention the title of Tool Saint and the fact that everyone was bowing to him. The natural virtues he would receive were already terrifying, immeasurably virtuous. That vast and mighty like the sea of merit was simply frightening to death. As long as Qing Ming accepted the natural virtues, he would become a saint. Although he wouldn't be a saint like the primordial chaos saint, he would have the same status as the holy emperor of the humankind. He would be a real saint. What? You want to become a saint with the natural virtues? The Wood Emperor chuckled and said, Success depends on the natural virtues. Failure depends on the natural virtues. Once you become a saint with the natural virtues, you'll be in this status forever and will never be able to improve. Speaking to this point, the Wood Emperor laughed again and continued, Of course, this is not important. The most important thing is the natural virtues really yours? Did you really create the great Tao of Tool? Qing Ming's entire body shook, and he immediately woke up. Thank you, Lord Wood Emperor, for reminding me. Qing Ming almost lost his mind. It just changed hands, and he didn't even know tool crafting at all. The book was given by the Wood Emperor, so naturally, the natural virtues belonged to the Wood Emperor. After all, the natural virtues are external things, not the power you cultivate. Remember, the Wood Emperor warned, then waved his hand. The endless natural virtues disappeared instantly. As the creator of the great Tao of Tool, you surely know tool crafting. I'll teach you the refining method as well. A dot of green light flashed, and all the records of the armament great Tao merged into Blue Stix's soul. Different kinds of tools, mechanisms, puppets, and refining methods all flew into Qing Ming's mind. Phew! Letting out a long sigh, Qing Ming's face was full of surprise. No wonder the heavens have bestowed good karma. This level of artifact refining technique is completely capable of transforming the heavens and earth. With this kind of technology, even an ordinary human child would be able to launch an attack as powerful as a peak-level junior magus, once he or she picked up a magic spear. As for the wizard energy cannons and wizard energy bombs, they were even more terrifying. More importantly, whether it was flying in the sky, walking on the ground, or swimming underwater, the art of refining could create all of them. Once the art of refining became widespread, even if the human race was not strong, with the help of these tools, they would be able to dominate the world. The momentum of human Tao was vast and unstoppable. I haven't released the fission and fusion bombs yet. Liu chuckled and put away the merit. For sure, Liu wouldn't release the fission and fusion bombs. Once he did, with the density of natural powers in this era of martial arts, if those pre-world spirit objects could also fuse or fission, the world would be destroyed, wouldn't it? If he released the fission and fusion bombs, not only would there be no merit, the divine punishment might even come down. I've got one the merit. Liu raised his eyes to the sky and smiled. The great Tao of armament has appeared. I think some people can't sit still anymore. Liu didn't have a good impression of the two people from the Western sect who had accidentally brought the non-human kind into this world. If the devils hadn't wreaked havoc in the world, how could the Buddha save the world? In order to achieve the purpose of replacing the country with religion, they had caused such a huge mess, and they couldn't even clean it up. What a bastard. Of course, Liu wouldn't interfere in this kind of conflict among the people. The three pure ones and Goddess Nuwa weren't idiots. How could they let the non-human kind do as they wished? A sage has appeared in the human race, and he's right under Chi Ban Mountain. The non-human kind can't sit still anymore. A great Tao like the great Tao of armament will definitely make the non-human kind nervous. They'll definitely mobilize their army and attack the human race. Liu turned to look at the East Sea. The East Sea dragons there were still the same. They had all purified their bloodlines in the dragon transformation pool and returned to the Panga lineage. According to Liu's instructions, they began to enter the Middle Earth to control the wind and rain and ensure that the wind and rain were smooth. Unfortunately, the dragon race's reputation as a bandit was too great. Moreover, they weren't familiar with the business. From time to time, there would be problems of too much rain or too little rain. It was still a long way to go to change their reputation and become a dragon god. But now is a good opportunity. The non-human kind had mobilized their army to attack. With the current situation of the human race being torn apart, they definitely couldn't resist. When the time came, the dragon army would come to help, and the two races would fight side by side. The reputation of the dragon race would definitely be reversed. The luck of the dragon race and the human race would be united, and they would share glory. This was the general trend of the Great Tao. Since the dragon race had joined in, there must be someone in the phoenix race who understood. As time went by, they would definitely join in. The luck of the dragon race, the phoenix race, and the human race would be united. When the luck of the Panga lineage merged, the human race would definitely dominate the trend of the world. The human race would definitely become the master of the world. Of course, for Liu, these things had nothing to do with him. What he needed to do was to beat the non-human kind up until they cried for their parents and ran for their parents. By then, the non-human kind would have no choice but to ask the local world for help. As long as they asked for help, the information about the existence of Panga World would definitely fall into the hands of Panyu. Panyu, who had been sleeping for countless years, would definitely be attracted by the original power of Panga World. Smelling the aroma of meat, Panyu naturally wouldn't let go of the big meal in Panga World. When he ran over excitedly and planned to eat the meat, Liu would tell him that he had fallen into a trap. Everything is that simple. The plan was very rough and simple. It was completely a fishing operation without any technical content. However, as the most powerful being in this world, Panyu had long been arrogant. As long as a piece of meat was released, he would deliver himself to Panyu. It didn't need to be complicated at all. I only want Panyu's memories. He has devoured countless worlds and has the natural laws of countless worlds. He also has the marks of countless worlds that were born from the chaos. It's very useful for me to comprehend the chaos. As for Panyu's power, if it were a few years ago, Liu would be wild with joy. But now, Liu didn't like it at all. I robbed Panga once, and now I need to settle the karma. I'll just give him a part of it then. As for the remaining portion, Liu could store it and use it as energy. All right, before Panyu woke up from his sleep, Liu was already thinking about how to cut him into pieces. The trap was already set. He was just waiting for Panyu to fall into it himself. Jump into Ai's bowl. Big Bossly smiled. Chapter 909. What? Making pills with Senior Magi's blood? Lai Shan was slightly surprised by Qing Stix's words. Master Weapon Saint, you know how to make pills? A gentleman knows how to make use of material objects. Pills are also external objects. Qing Stix answered with a smile. Yes, yes, yes. Lai Shan nodded. This spirit essence pill can help a peak junior magus to open a magus aperture and directly become a senior magus. And it can also improve one's cultivation. This is great. Great. Lai Shan couldn't sit still after hearing Qing Stix's introduction. I've killed quite a number of senior magi in every battle. I can use them to make pills. I'll inform Wen Ming right away. Lai Shan turned around and ran out of the crafting valley while yelling. The identity of Weapon Saint is quite convenient. Qing Stix looked at Lai Shan's back with a smile. With the title of Weapon Saint, Qing Stix was like a boss now. As long as he asked, he would give him whatever he wanted. As long as I get the senior magi's blood, I can make spirit essence pills endlessly. My cultivation base will be able to improve very quickly. Spirit essence pills were made by Qing Stix himself. He had the final say on how many pills he could produce. Wasn't this the reason why he came to the Qi Band frontline? Easy, 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 easy. My friend, you're fated with my sect. Suddenly, a chuckle was heard. A merciful Taoist silently appeared in the crafting valley in front of Qing Stix. Damn it, it's Bodhi Taoist. The moment this figure appeared, the Wood Emperor's voice sounded in his mind. The Western sect is the most shameless. Just you're fated with me, and they rob everywhere. You need to be careful. Western sect? Bodhi Taoist? Qing Stix paused slightly. This name was very unfamiliar to him. However, since the Wood Emperor said so, this Bodhi Taoist must not be a good person. Senior, you must be joking. Qing Stix took a step back. Senior, and I don't know each other. How can we be fated? We're definitely not fated. Hee. Not fated is fated. Fated is still fated. Taoist Subhoodie clasped his hands together and smiled. Fellow Taoist, the mortal world is filled with bitterness. Follow me to Mount Meru and comprehend a peerless technique. As he spoke, Taoist Bodhi reached out and grabbed. At this moment, Qing Stix felt like he was a fish or shrimp frozen in ice. His entire body was confined, and he couldn't even blink. In the face of this casual grab, it was as if he was facing the infinite power of the entire world. He was completely unable to resist it. What kind of power is this? How could it be so terrifying? Qing Ming was so shocked that his face turned pale. This kind of heavenly power was completely beyond his imagination. This is a saint, a heavenly Tao saint. They are heaven's might, heaven's will. The Wood Emperor chuckled in Qing Ming's mind. Kid, I can't beat this guy. I can only take you and run. Buzz, a crystal light flashed, and Qing Ming's figure instantly disappeared, escaping from Bodhi Taoist's grasp. He actually had this kind of ability? As expected of the Weapon Saint. Bodhi Taoist was a bit surprised. He raised his eyelids and smiled faintly. Everyone below the level of Saint is an ant. As long as you can't run out of Pangu World, where can you run to? While chuckling, Bodhi Taoist took a step forward and chased after Qing Ming. Buzz, a crystal light flashed across the air, and Qing Ming instantly showed up on a towering mountain. Lord Wood Emperor, are we still near Qi Ban? Once he showed up on the mountain, Qing Ming saw that blood-red mountain range in front of him. Obviously, he was still near Qi Ban and hadn't run far. He was so close that he couldn't run away at all. Kid, as long as you're still in this world, no matter how far you run, you're only one step away from a saint. Saints of the heavenly Tao have comprehended the great Tao of nature, and the end of the world is just a foot away. Then what should we do? They were only one step away from a saint in this world. Where could they run to? They couldn't run at all. We just have to wait. The Wood Empress chuckled. How could I not have a reason for sending you here? My friend, you run so fast. But you can't run away. Just follow me to Mount Sumeru. The space slightly shook, and Bodhi Taoist stepped across the space and showed up in front of Qing Ming again. Fellow Taoist, you're fated to join my sect, so you're destined to join our sect. This is the will of the heavens. Bodhi smiled and reached out his hand. As the light flowed, a vast world seemed to appear in his hand. My friend, you can't run away from my palm. I said you're destined, so you're destined. While speaking, Bodhi reached out his hand and grabbed down. As the light flowed, his hand suddenly became immeasurably huge, covering the sky and the sun. Destined my ass. Bald bastard, take this. Suddenly, a thunderous roar was heard, and the surrounding world quaked. Clang, shrill sword screams rose into the sky. Red, white, cyan, and black, for beams of sword light flashed out, shining through the sky and piercing through the earth. Annihilation, annihilation, destruction, annihilation of all things, destruction of the world. Ah, for beams of sword light shot up, and Bodhi's huge hand was instantly sliced into pieces. With a cry of pain, golden blood fell like raindrops. Heaven piercing. You. Bodhi roared in shock and anger. You what? Scram. If you don't scram, I'll chop you up. For beams of extremely ferocious sword light roared, overbearing and domineering. My friend you, aren't you being a little too overbearing? As the golden light flashed, a huge golden lotus broke through the air. On the golden lotus, a bald Taoist stood. After this person appeared, he and Bodhi surrounded Yu Daoran in middle. The weapon saint is destined to join my sect. It's in line with the will of the heavens. Why do you have to go against the will of the heavens? Taoist Golden Lotus put his palms together and smiled. The two of you are stronger than me when you join forces, and you say it's the will of the heavens? Yu Daoran smiled and shook his head. Have you forgotten? You have 2 brothers. We have 3 brothers. Boom! The Taiji diagram roared. Boom! The Panga banner broke through the air. Now, we are the will of the heavens. Yu Daoran sneered. Scram! 4 streaks of sword light shot up into the sky and slashed down at the 2 people from the Western sect with monstrous ferocity. At the same time, the Taiji diagram and the Panga banner also attacked. We can't do this. Run. Seeing this, Bodhi and Taoist Golden Lotus knew that their plan had failed. They hurriedly released the Golden Lotus and Bodhi tree to block the 3 Pure Ones' attack and fled in a flash of golden light. You 2 shameless people are the most annoying. A cold snort rang out in the air. An enormous serpent tail tore through the air and lashed out at Taoist Bodhi and Taoist Golden Lotus. Niwa. The 2 of them were already struggling to block the 3 Pure Ones' attack. How could they block Niwa's attack? Boom! A deafening explosion rang out as Taoist Bodhi and Taoist Golden Lotus were sent flying. They were sent flying for billions of miles. Chapter 9-10. Saint's blood, good stuff. Good stuff. When the group of saints were fighting, Xiaohao was ecstatic as he kept collecting the golden blood that Bodhi Taoist had spilled. This was the blood of a heavenly saint. It was many times more powerful than the blood essence of a great magus. One of Bodhi Taoist's claws was chopped off by Tong Tian's sword, and blood rained down. Even though Qing Ming had already opened his pocket under the guidance of the Wood Emperor, there was still some remaining golden blood that he had not collected. How could Qing Ming let go of such a precious treasure? Haha, there's one more drop here. After circling the mountain a few times and collecting the last drop of Saint's blood, Qing Ming was like an old farmer with a bumper harvest, his face full of joy. Bodhi Taoist blood is not that easy to take. Can you refine it? At this time, Yu Daoran walked to Qing Ming's side and asked with a smile. I can refine it. These are all good materials for refining pills. Qing Ming was full of joy. Pills refined from Saint's blood. That guy, the effects are extraordinary. Hearing this, Yu Daoran's mouth twitched. Should I say, as expected of the weapons saint? He even wants to use the saint's blood to refine pills. All right, you can use it to refine pills. Yu Daoran shook her head and said to Qing Ming, Weapons saint, you don't seem to have merged your body with virtue to achieve the Tao. You intend to walk the path of self-cultivation? To have this insight and this decisiveness, you are also extraordinary. A gentleman is good at using material things, but not limited to them. The weapon Tao is to borrow the power of external things, but you can't relax your own cultivation. A gentleman constantly strives to improve himself. In these 2 days, Qing Ming had a clear understanding of the so-called weapon Tao, and his words were clear and logical. Not bad, not bad. Yu Daoren smiled and nodded. The weapon Tao is indeed extraordinary. Thank you for your protection just now. Qing Ming is very grateful. Qing Ming naturally knew that the scene in the sky just now was the 3 pure ones and Yuhua protecting him. It's okay. It's okay. Those 2 fellows from the Western sect are too shameless. Yu Daoren smilingly waved his hand and said, it's done. For example, I will send the tool Saint back to Chiban City. Qing Yun turned and Yu Daoren brought Qing Ming back to the weapon crafting valley. I still have a disciple who hasn't entered the sect yet. I still need to meet him, so I'll take my leave now. After saying goodbye to Qing Ming, Yu Daoren disappeared in the blink of an eye. He was looking for his new disciple, which was Ji Hao. Lordwood Empress, how should we refine this saint's blood? It could be said that the saint's blood that Qing Sticks had collected was the best material Qing Sticks had collected so far. However, the problem was how to complete the refinement of the saint's blood. Of course, it's to refine pills that can increase one's cultivation. The Wood Empress chuckled. Taoist Subhoodie's true form is a pre-celestial Bodhi tree. Both the Tao of metal and the Tao of wood were top-notch innate essences of this world. As for Qi, blood, and essence Qi, that's not even a problem. That's great. Not only did he have metal and wood innate essences, but he also had a huge amount of Qi, blood, and essence Qi. With so much of Taoist Subhoodie's saint's blood, how much could he refine? Just as he was about to rejoice, Qing Ming suddenly realized that the countless droplets of gold-like blood in the storage space opened by the Wood Empress had actually merged into a single drop. Why is there only a single drop? Qing Ming was dumbfounded. A single drop of saint's blood can create an ocean. At Taoist Subhoodie's level, even a single drop of his blood would be an incredible feat, even if he was injured. Do you really think he'd let you collect thousands of drops? The Wood Empress chuckled. Little guy, if it weren't for the immortal banishing swords being so ruthless, there wouldn't even be a drop of saint's blood. At most, it would only dissipate some of its vitality. Heavenly saints are formless. How could they be injured so easily? All right. Qing Ming smiled and shook his head. I was too greedy. Although it was only a single drop of saint's blood, it was still a great harvest. Lordwood Empress, what kind of pill should I refine from this drop of saint's blood? Qing Ming had no way to refine saint's blood, so he could only ask the Wood Empress. There's no need to refine any pill. I'll cast a spell to erase Taoist Subhoodie's imprint from this drop of saint's blood. You could just swallow it directly. Saint's Bodhi blood was a connate spiritual root. No matter what method he used to refine it into a pill, it would be better to just swallow it directly. The Wood Empress waved her hand, and a 5-colored radiance flowed and erased all imprints from this drop of saint's blood, leaving only the pure essence behind. Swallow it. Swallow this drop of blood, and you'll benefit immensely. The Wood Empress tossed the saint's Bodhi blood to Qing Ming. Oh, Qing Ming caught the drop of golden blood and swallowed it. Boom! A vast and boundless power surged within his body like a volcanic eruption. Too powerful. This power made Qing Ming's heart skip a beat. He hurriedly used the cultivation method of the true Pangus sect to absorb this enormous power. Boom! 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 The 129,600 meridians in his body let out a series of explosive sounds like firecrackers, and his acupoints were open one by one. In a short while, 129,600 acupoints were opened all over his body. In this short moment, Qing Ming reached the limit of senior magus from the peak of junior magus. An ordinary senior magus who could open more than 100 acupoints were already at the peak of senior magus. Now, the number of acupoints in Qing Ming's body had reached the level of Pangus sect's real body. 120,000 acupoints communicated with heaven and earth at the same time, accumulating power at the same time. Qing Ming's power was as vast and boundless as the sea. However, this was not the end. The power of the saint's blood was only slightly consumed. After Senior Magus is Magus King. Senior Magi communicate with the power of heaven and earth through their acupoints. Magus Kings communicate with their natal stars. Release your mind, borrow the power of the saint's blood, and follow your own senses to find your life star. Hearing the Wood Empress's instructions, Qing Ming quickly released his mind. Boom! In a trance, a vast and boundless power wrapped around Qing Ming's mind and rushed into the sky. It pierced through the vast clouds, broke through the endless astral winds, and rushed into the vast starry sky of the primitive era. Buzz, when Qing Ming's mind rushed into the starry sky, the 7 mansions of the White Tiger in the west, the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon in the east, and even the Ziwei altar in the center all shone at the same time and resonated with Qing Ming. I was born in the Qing tribe and have been cultivating the power of wood. It's normal for me to sense the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon. The 7 mansions of the White Tiger should have absorbed the Bodhi Saint's blood. The Saint's blood contains the 2 original powers of metal and wood, which resonates with the metal power in the west. As for the Ziwei altar in the center, it resonates with the Ziwei altar because of my identity as the weapon saint. Qing Ming thought and didn't know how to choose. Which one should he choose? If others knew that Qing Ming could choose his own constellation when he became a Magus King, they would be envious. Chapter 911. The Wood Sovereign once said that cultivation is the cultivation of the heart. Qing Sticks looked at the shining stars in his mind, and a smile appeared on his face. Since it's the cultivation of the heart, then it's following my heart's desire. In that case, I think, I'll choose all of them. As soon as the thought appeared in his mind, his heart trembled, and endless starlight burst out. The 7 mansions of the White Tiger in the west, the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon in the east, and the Ziwei altar in the center burst forth with endless light at the same time, illuminating Qing Sticks' heart. At this moment, all the stars of the 3 galaxies were firmly imprinted in Qing Sticks' mind. It was as if the 7 mansions of the Azure Dragon had become his left hand, the 7 mansions of the White Tiger had become his right hand, and the Ziwei altar had become his head. It seems it's not complete. He had a hand and a head, but he was still missing a chest and legs. Among the 4 divisions, there are the 7 mansions of the Black Tortoise in the north, and the 7 mansions of the Vermilion Bird in the south. There are also the Grand Altar and the Celestial Altar. It's just enough to form the legs and chest. Qing Sticks was about to guide the other mansions into his body, but he suddenly realized that he couldn't sense the other 4 galaxies at all. Haha, little guy, you're really ambitious. You want to merge all the stars in the sky into your body. The Wood Sovereign smiled. Since you've thought of it, then do it. But I can't sense the other mansions. Qing Sticks complained bitterly to the Wood Sovereign. Why did you suddenly become stupid? Did you forget about the 5 elements? That's right. Qing Sticks was enlightened when he heard the Wood Sovereign's reminder. He had demonstrated the 5 elements transformation method to Lai Shan before. How could he forget it now? With a thought, the wood element of the metal and wood elements in his sacred blood instantly transformed into the fire element. Wood gave birth to fire, and a monstrous flame surged into the sky. Caw! A vermilion bird's cry could be vaguely heard. The 7 mansions of the vermilion bird in the south were instantly activated, and the vast astral power imprinted in his mind formed the left leg. The metal element turned into water element, and the 7 mansions of the Black Tortoise in the north formed the right leg. The 4 divisions became one, and the power of the earth. Under the guidance of the weapon saint, the Grand Altar and the Heavenly Market Altar also moved, and their chests and abdomens appeared respectively. Boom! At this moment, the stars in the sky suddenly trembled and burst out with dazzling starlight. As the starlight swirled in the sky, Qing Ming found that the entire starry sky of the primitive universe seemed to have become his body. Every move he made was echoed by the stars in the sky. The Lord of the Stars is the celestial emperor. In a trance, an inexplicable message flowed into his mind, causing Qing Stix's body to tremble. Celestial? Celestial emperor? This form of address made Qing Ming dumbfounded. Idiot, since you've absorbed the heavenly cycle Stardow into your heart, you're naturally a heavenly emperor. Don't dawdle. The time is fleeting. Hurry up and announce your imperial title to the heavenly Tao. Emperor title? A moment of carelessness, and he actually created a heavenly emperor's position? This caused Qing Ming's heart to be filled with terror. Heavenly emperor, this kind of position, that was simply unthinkable even in their dreams. How could he think of an emperor title in such a short time? My name is Qing Ming, then. I am the Azure Heaven Emperor. In a hurry, he could only give himself the name Qing Tian. Clang. In a trance, a loud boom shook the world. Since Qing Tian has appeared, he should wield the heavenly Tao. A huge seal that seemed to be condensed from the heavenly cycle star Do instantly fell into Qing Ming's mind. Immediately, the world spun, and Qing Ming's mind instantly broke away from the heavenly cycle star Do and returned to his body. Lord Wood Emperor, what's going on with this heavenly emperor? His mind entered his body, and Qing Ming hurriedly asked the Wood Emperor. Just like that, he became a heavenly emperor? Isn't this too childish? The heavenly emperor's position has been vacant for a long time. To the heavenly Tao, if the heavenly emperor does not return, the heavenly Tao is not complete. Coincidentally, I met you, a virtuous weapon saint, and you have absorbed the heavenly cycle star Do into your heart, which just happens to meet the requirements. Naturally, I've caught one. Hearing the Wood Emperor's explanation, Qing Ming was even more dumbfounded. Could it be that the heavenly emperor's position had to be taken by catching people? The heavenly Tao was actually so miserable? The entire Panga world, although the origin is profound, is also the top heaven and earth in this part of the universe. However, Panga died early, and even the 5 great worlds haven't merged into one. Naturally, the heavenly Tao is incomplete. Besides, the few saints of the heavenly Tao who were born in Panga's body didn't want to merge with the heavenly Tao to complete the heavenly Tao. Do you think the heavenly Tao isn't miserable? Hearing the Wood Emperor, Qing Ming had even less hope for this so-called Azure Heaven Emperor. Don't think about it. You've become a Magus King now, and your power has improved greatly. However, it's still too early for you to truly become Azure Heaven. In other words, the master is weak, and the minister is strong. As a heavenly emperor, you don't even have the qualification to command the world. That's true. Qing Ming nodded. Although he had the title of Azure Heaven Emperor now, he didn't have the qualification. Unless he closed his door and became his own heavenly emperor, he didn't have the qualification to command the world. As a Magus King, who would pay attention to him? Not to mention the 3 Taoists and the 2 Buddhas, even Emperor Shun, the common ruler of the humankind, wouldn't be willing to pay a visit to Qing Ming, the Azure Heaven Emperor, and obey the orders of the Azure Heaven Emperor. Not to mention the dragon kind and phoenix kind, which were even more unruly. Kid, power is the most important thing. Even Pangu died, not to mention you, a mere Azure Heaven. Work hard on your cultivation. All right, Qing Ming shook his head. Before, he didn't have much hope for this Azure Heaven. But now, hearing the Wood Emperor, he had even less hope. Fortunately, his power had indeed skyrocketed. He now had 120,000 Magus acupoints, and the stars in the sky had entered his heart. Qing Ming's power had already gone through a thorough change. Except for the lack of fighting experience, he was now even more powerful than Si Wenming. After all, except for him, the others could only have the power of 1 star at most. However, he had the power of all stars in the sky. In terms of strength, even divine magi, who were above Magus Kings, didn't have as great a power as he did. With your current power, you can be counted as a powerful being in this world. Get ready, a great war is coming. The Wood Emperor reminded Qing Ming, then stopped talking to him. A great war is coming? Qing Ming was shocked. Is the non-humankind going to launch a large-scale attack? While he was deep in thought, the door was suddenly slammed open with a loud bang, and Lai Shan rushed in anxiously. Weapons Saint, can you refine large amounts of arrows, weapons, and the like? The non-humankind. The non-humankind is coming. The scale is unprecedented. This is a national war. The survival of our humankind depends on this war. Lai Shan looked at Qing Ming expectantly, hoping that this saint, who created the great Tao of tools, could bring him a surprise. The survival of our humankind? What's going on? Qing Ming was shocked, hurriedly asking Lai Shan. According to our spies, the 12 emperors in power of the non-humankind have sent all of their armies south to invade our humankind. They swore to destroy our humankind once and for all. This is an unprecedented war. Sir Weapons Saint, the survival of the human race depends on this battle. Is it really so urgent? Qing Ming nodded and said, bring all of the crafting materials here. Bring as many as you can. I have a way to mass produce them. For the war hall, as long as you provided enough materials, you could make whatever you wanted. Quantity? There was no quantity. However many materials you had, you could make whatever you wanted. Great! Lai Shan was wild with joy. Chapter 9:12. The Tool Saint can mass produce weapons. At this moment, even Emperor Shun, who was in the capital city, had arrived at the Qi Ban front line. This war was about the survival of the humankind. If they lost this war, the humankind would have no future. At this moment, anything that could improve their powers was naturally given out without any hesitation. Semi-order. Bring all weapon-making materials from the treasury in Puban City. Also, tell all clans to take out all treasures they have. Emperor Shun wrote an imperial decree, grabbed the seal, and stamped it heavily. Tell them, if we lose this war, the humankind will be wiped out. No matter how many treasures they have, they will only benefit the non-humankind. The guard took over the imperial decree and hurriedly left the headquarters tent. Human Emperor, although you've given the order, I'm afraid they won't really take out their treasures. Si Wenming shook his head and sighed deeply. There are always some short-sighted ones. Emperor Shun's face was filled with helplessness as well. As the leader of the humankind, in fact, many clans have been doing their own things, ignoring the orders of the human emperor. At this critical moment, the survival of the humankind is at stake. I hope they can consider the big picture. Otherwise, Emperor Shun pressed his hand on the Xianyuan sword tied around his waist, while a cold light flashed across his eyes. In the crafting valley, all kinds of weapon-making materials were sent into the valley ceaselessly. Qing Ming sat in an enormous hall, took over a cosmos bag that was filled with weapon-making materials, put them away, then made all kinds of weapons with the power of the war hall. Long spears, giant axes, heavy hammers, large swords, countless arrows and armors were all put into the cosmos bag and sent to the Qi Ban camp. Every time a batch of materials was sent over, a batch of weapons and armors will be taken away. Endless and unending. Good, good, good. This is great. The Tool Saint has descended. This is indeed a blessing for our humankind. God bless our humankind. Looking at the mountain-like piles of weapons and armors in the cosmos bag, Emperor Shun laughed out in delight. With these weapons and armors, which are no worse than those of the non-humankind, I think we can hold on longer, right? Even Emperor Shun didn't have the confidence to defeat the non-humankind. The non-humankind was way too powerful. Each of the 12 emperors in power was at the level of supreme magus. Even with the Xianyuan sword, Emperor Shun could fend off 2 to 3 non-humankind emperors at most. By now, the 12 non-humankind beings in power had all moved out together. The top-grade power of the humankind was far weaker than that of the non-humankind. Not to mention, the non-humankind army was of one mind, and the tens of millions of soldiers were under their command. As for the human race, hasn't Gong Gong family sent an army yet? Emperor Shun snorted loudly while pressing his hand on the Xianyuan sword tied around his waist. A cold intent of killing had already emerged from his eyes. Zhu Rong clan, the fire god of Southern Wasteland, led the entire clan and all Southern Wasteland clans to support the Chi Ban battlefield. All archers from the Eastern Wasteland clan had already arrived in Pu Ban City and would arrive at the Chi Ban campsite tomorrow. All armored warriors from Western Wasteland's Xiaohao Jintian family had already entered the front line of Chi Ban City, blocking the way of all armies. However, Gong Gong, the water god of the northern wilderness, had yet to send out a single soldier. According to the Water God Division, the Dragon Clan's forces have invaded the land and rivers. They have to resist the Dragon Clan and can't spare any troops. Si Wenming's face was also filled with anger. Dragon race? Weren't they helping to create clouds and rain everywhere? Although they're often more of a hindrance than a help, no conflict has ever happened. Did the Water God Division start a war with them? Emperor Shun frowned and asked Si Wenming. No war. In my opinion, this is just an excuse made by the Water God Division. Gong Gong Clan, the Water God. Hee, they don't have pure human bloodline. Si Wenming sneered. Gong Gong, the Water God, wasn't a human being. Instead, he was a divine god generated by the natural water power. In essence, he was the same kind of creature as Hong Luo. For many years, divine gods and human beings have been living together. Therefore, these divine gods had also intermarried with human beings. As for the Water God Division, although they also had human bloodline, they never saw themselves as human beings. Therefore, they often ignored Emperor Shun's orders. On the contrary, Zhu Rong clan, the fire god, saw themselves as human beings. Old Zhu Rong listened to Emperor Shun without any hesitation. Leave them alone for now. In the future, if there is a future, we will deal with them. Emperor Shun snorted and said, Let's go. Wenming, follow me to patrol the Chi Ban area. In a valley in the Chi Ban mountain area, Ji Hao was carrying a square-shaped, jade-white, gigantic stone, gasping quickly for air. Old man, what the hell is this? A piece of jade? Why is it so heavy? Wiping the sweat on his forehead, Ji Hao asked Pan Gu, who was in his head. This is a supreme treasure. Kid, this is the most supreme treasure in this world. Pan Gu grinned, but didn't finish his sentence. Back then, half of my front tooth fell out. Of course, this is a supreme treasure. What on earth can this thing do? Carrying the gigantic stone again, Ji Hao walked out of the valley step by step with heavy steps. Of course, to make weapons. Don't you see that a great war is about to start? You have become a senior magus. But in a great war like this, senior magi are nothing. If I don't give you a supreme treasure to protect yourself, you will die for sure. Making weapons? Ji Hao nodded, carried the Pan Gu's front tooth, and rushed to the crafting valley. Boom! The jade-white boulder, which was about 10 feet in radius, heavily smashed into the ground, causing the ground to shake. Qing Ming, help me make a weapon with this stone. Ji Hao held the stone and gasped for breath. This thing, hiss, where did you get it? Isn't this a peerless treasure? Qing Ming had just finished making the crafting materials delivered today. When he saw the stone, he didn't pay much attention to it. But the Wood Emperor shouted Pan Gu's tooth in his head. I was walking on the street and accidentally kicked a stone. Then it popped out. Although it was a bit ridiculous, but Ji Hao was right. A random stone and a supreme treasure popped out. Since Pan Gu lived in his head, even if a Pan Gu's front tooth fell from the sky while he was sleeping, it would be normal. What kind of weapon are you going to make? This gigantic stone was enough to make any kind of weapon. Looking at this front tooth, Qing Ming sighed in his heart. This thing was definitely the best crafting material in this world. Use a sword. Use the shape of the sword you made for me before. Ji Hao raised the heavy sword, waved it towards Qing Ming, and said, I've already gotten used to this sword. Kid, axes are men's weapons. If you use a sword, you'll be like a girl. In Ji Hao's head, Pan Gu was instilling his sense of aesthetics. But Ji Hao completely ignored it. If I make a sword, I can't use up all these materials. You don't mind sharing some with me, do you? Patting on Ji Hao's shoulder, Qing Ming laughed out loud and said, Good brother, everyone can have a share. Make a sword for me, and the rest is yours. Ji Hao carelessly waved his hand. Thank you very much. Flicking his sleeve, Ji Hao put the Pangu's front tooth away. A 5-colored light rolled up, and soon, a 4-foot-long heavy sword was made. Here you go. The jade-white heavy sword flew out and landed in Ji Hao's hand. Ji Hao sensed a bloodline connection. Holding this sword, Ji Hao felt as if everything in the world was in his hand. All right, Pangu's front tooth sword, of course it was so powerful. Chapter 9:13. I need to make a weapon with the rest of the materials. Although his strength had improved greatly, the more powerful he was, the better. Qing Sticks used the rest of the materials to make his weapon without any hesitation. What kind of weapon should I make? At this moment, Qing Sticks was no longer the archer he used to be. The choice of weapon should be in line with his path. Kid, you have the stars in the sky, but don't you think you're still missing something? The Wood Emperor reminded Qing Sticks in his mind. The stars in the sky. What is it missing? Qing Sticks was enlightened. Yes, I have the stars in the sky, but I'm still missing the sun and the moon. Without the sun and the moon, the stars in the sky were incomplete. Now that he was going to make a weapon, he naturally had to make up for this flaw. After making up his mind, Qing Sticks immediately took action. 5-colored light surged up, and the remaining Panga teeth melted instantly, turning into 2 balls of molten liquid. One of the balls of molten liquid turned into a disc shape. Around the disc, there was a row of saw teeth, which looked like raging tongues of flame. This weapon represented the scorching sun. The other half of the molten liquid turned into a crescent-shaped blade, which looked like a crescent moon. Good, now it's finally complete. After making the weapon, Qing Sticks smiled and waved his hand. The crescent-shaped blade appeared in his hand. Then Ji Hao shouted in shock. What the hell, Egg Blade? Egg Blade? What kind of name is this? It sounds so bad. Qing Sticks waved the crescent-shaped blade in his hand. Let's call it Moonblade. It's obviously an egg blade. Why call it Moonblade? Ji Hao curled his lips, speechless. Only sentinels are called Moonblades. What nonsense are you talking about? Qing Sticks ignored Ji Hao and took out another weapon. This one will be called Sun Wheel. The weapon was like the scorching sun, spinning in his hand, emitting a bright aura. What the hell? You only have an egg blade? You only have an egg blade? Ji Hao shouted again. Brother, this won't do. You only have an egg blade. You're an incomplete man. You're the incomplete man. Qing Ming showed the whites of his eyes and didn't want to talk to Ji Hao anymore. Change it to 2 egg knives. Brother, I'm doing this for you. Ji Hao even leaped up and yelled behind him. Dong, dong, boom. The earth-shattering war drums were already being beaten. Woo! The shrill bugle horn shook the world. Hearing the war drums and bugle sounds, everyone in the Qi band camp stood up abruptly. They're here. At this moment, everyone knew that a battle that would determine the survival of the human race was about to begin. Boom, boom, boom. Heavy footsteps could be heard as countless warriors from various tribes rushed to the battlefield. They were clad in armor and holding swords. Let's go. We're going to the battlefield too. Putting on his armor and carrying his 2 sharp blades, Qing Ming took a deep breath and stepped out of the palace. Yes, this battle concerned the survival of the human race. We have to fight with all our might. Ji Hao raised his long sword, raised his head with a serious look, and said, At this moment of life and death, we should fight to the death. Master Tool Saint, you don't need to go, do you? You should stay here and make weapons and armors. Once he stepped out of the palace, he bumped into Lai Shan Old Man, who was also wearing an armor and holding a gigantic hammer. Seeing Qing Ming walk out of the palace, Lai Shan Old Man hurriedly stopped him. Master Lai Shan, you don't need to stop me. Qing Ming shook his head and said, If the humankind wins this battle, I will have endless time to make weapons. As for the humankind losing, it was needless to say. The humankind would be wiped out. What else was there to say? Then good, let's go to the battlefield together. Lai Shan Old Man raised the hammer in his hand and yelled towards the back. Warriors of the Lai Mountain clan, our ancestor, Yin Emperor Shinnong, is looking at us from the sky. Fight! 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 Along with the sky-shaking roars, muscular men wearing heavy armors and holding gigantic hammers walked over from every corner of the valley with heavy footsteps, lined up orderly behind Lishan Old Man. Let's go. Warriors with high morale rushed out of the crafting valley, heading towards the Chi Ban army camp. Walking out of the camp, they saw that on the open field in front of them were groups of warriors who were heading towards the Chi Ban army. Look, that's our clan over there. While moving forward, Jihao pointed at the group on the left side of the open field and yelled out, "Yeah, that's our clan." In front of that group of warriors, a flag of raging flame was raised, under which were countless warriors of the Zhu Rong clan. On the right side of the Zhu Rong clan, a flag of the Gold Crow and a flag of a gigantic tree were fluttering high in the air. Those were the Fire Crow clan and the Qing Yi clan. At the moment, the army was marching, so Jihao and Qing Ming didn't have a chance to meet up with their clansmen. If we win, we live. If we lose, we die. For this battle, we can only try our best. Qing Ming and Jihao glanced at each other, gripped their weapons tightly, and said, "Fight to the death." Woo! Bugles rose one after another, as more and more troops gathered. On the open field in the south of the Chi Ban mountain area, countless warriors had already gathered. Move! Lai Shan led the warriors of the Lai Mountain clan and climbed up the Chi Ban mountain area to the highest peak of the Chi Ban mountain area, the Red Cliff Mountain. At the moment, on the high platform on the mountain, Emperor Shun and a group of senior leaders of the humankind were standing on the platform and looking towards the north. That area was filled with enemies. That's... Jihao looked at the sky in the north and was stunned. It wasn't that there were too many enemies, although there were indeed too many enemies. The non-humankind had come out in full force and had gathered over 10 million warriors. As far as the eye could see, there were enemies everywhere, covering the sky and covering the earth, covering the mountains and plains. What really shocked Jihao was those enormous battleships floating in the sky. Those battleships were enormous. Even the smallest one was over 10 miles long. Among them, the largest ones were 12 pyramid-shaped, 1,000-mile-long, enormous battleships. Every single one of those battleships was shining with a splendid light like a star in the sky. However, on those enormous battleships, enormous cannons were shining with destructive light. Even though those cannons hadn't been fully activated yet, they could already make people shiver. They even have space fleets? How are you going to fight them? Jihao's heart went numb. One side was still in the era of cold weapons, while the other side had already entered the era of space. The difference in technology was not on the same level at all. Aren't they just some iron shells? They have my front teeth. With that sword, even if you're not strong enough, you can still chop a few of them. That's right. Why am I still stuck in the old way of thinking? Jihao, who came from the future, subconsciously thought that the enemy's strength was infinitely higher when he saw space fleets. However, he forgot that in this era, the strength of both sides was not measured by technology at all. Cold weapons were more powerful than space fleets. If he could find Pangu's axe, it would be easy to wipe out these space fleets. It's just the difference in strength between the two sides is still too big. Those 12 pyramid-shaped battleships must be the 12 emperors in power of the non-humankind. 12 supreme magi. This force was much stronger than the human race. Heaven bless our race. On the high platform, Emperor Shun pulled out the Xianyuan sword and pointed at the non-humankind in front of him. This battle will not return without victory. Kill. No return without victory. Kill. Sky-shaking roars rang out. The battle that concerned the survival of the human race had officially begun. Chapter 9:14. Boom! Tens of thousands of non-humankind battleships let out beams of destructive light from their thick cannons, striking towards Chi Ban Mountain. It was only a round of attacks, but those light beams seemed to tear the sky apart and destroy the earth. Pre-World 8 trigrams, Yin and Yang, activate. Emperor Shun raised the Fushi turtle shell as streams of Pre-World 8 trigrams rose. Sky, earth, wind, thunder, water, fire, mountain pool, the 8 trigrams hovered in the air, connecting with the power of nature and creating a screen, blocking the attacks from the non-humankind battleships. Boom! The sky collapsed, the earth cracked, and the earth quaked. The pre-world 8 trigrams and the destructive light clashed against each other, generating a sky-shaking boom. Even the sky seemed to be shattered as the strong shock waves stirred up the surrounding natural powers. The pre-world Fushi 8 trigrams gathered the power of countless human battle formations and formed a strong iron screen, standing straight like a rock in a raging tide, never falling. In fact, under this round of attacks, countless warriors in battle formations have been vomiting blood. Unity of will, blessing of providence. Emperor Shun gripped the seal and pressed it heavily on the Fushi turtle shell. On the heaven prayer altar in the capital city of Pu Ban City, the light beam of fortune quaked rumblingly as the tremendous fortune power surged into the Fushi turtle shell. Under the flow of the fortune power, the light screen created by the pre-world Fushi 8 trigrams battle formation grew stronger. May the heaven protect our kind. Emperor Shun pulled out the Xianyuan sword and raised both of his hands. Immeasurable holy power surged from the bright yellow sword, rising like a volcano erupting. Holy Xianyuan, destroy the evil. Emperor Shun roared out while wielding the sword. Boom! A sky-reaching beam of light burst with a dazzling light, as bright as the sun, cleansing the world. The holy power of Xianyuan was unstoppable. Compared to the round of attacks launched by the non-humankind, this sword attack was no weaker. Boom! As the sword attack was launched, another thunderous boom burst from the sky, quaking the earth and shaking the mountains. The violent impact forced the non-humankind battleships back for over 1,000 miles. There were even some small warships that were shattered by the sword, turning into countless metal fragments that scattered everywhere. People of the Dark Sun, we are the noblest race in the world. Kill these barbarians. Let us rule this world. Let us bring civilization and nobility to this world. Kill, 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 kill. Tens of millions of non-humankind troops flooded in like a flood. At this moment, a fierce battle broke out almost simultaneously on the entire Ban mountain range battlefront. Arrows whistled through the air, spears and spears that were like a forest, and the roars of battle and the splattering of blood caused the land to be engulfed in the flames of war. Boom, boom, boom. In the sky, tens of thousands of non-humankind warships had already scattered, leaving only the 12 pyramid-shaped warships to attack Emperor Shun's Fushi 8 trigrams formation. The rest of the battleships were scattered to various battle lines, constantly bombarding the human battle formation stationed in various places. Boom! The mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Crushed stones flew everywhere. A mountain peak was directly flattened by the heavy artillery. All human warriors guarding this area were turned into ashes. Zhu Rong is here. Non-humankind monsters, don't you dare. A raging fire rose from the ground. A muscular man with fiery red hair, whose entire body was wrapped in raging fire, held a fiery red battle axe and leaped into the air, hacking down towards the non-humankind warship. Boom! The warship, which had just flattened a mountain peak, was instantly smashed into pieces by this blazing axe. Human Emperor Swearin, our humankind is at the moment of life and death. Please show us your power. The fire of human nature sweep across the world. With a pair of gold crow wings spread behind his back, Ji Xiao rose into the air, raised the Swearin staff, and smashed down towards the non-humankind army that was rushing over. Boom! The holy fire of human nature swept across the world. All non-humankind beings in the front were shrouded in the fire. Along with shrill howls, groups of non-humankind warriors were burned into ashes one after another. However, more non-humankind warriors rushed over like tidewater. For the clan, the gigantic rock giant rushed up to the mountain peak, blocking the non-humankind army like a giant pillar. Behind the rock giant, groups of druids, Archers, sentinels, warriors, demon hunters, and ancient war trees rushed up to the mountain peak instantly, guarding this collapsing battle line. Sun and moon shine together, stars shine in the sky. The sun and moon in Qing Ming's hands burst with a dazzling light, as bright as the sun and the moon, swishing across the sky. Non-humankind warships were struck by the sun and moon and exploded one after another. Pan Gu opens the sky. Holding the sword with both hands, Ji Hao wielded the sword fiercely. Endless natural powers gathered on the sword edge. With a single sword move, a 10,000-strong, non-humankind army was flattened. Battles were happening everywhere. The entire Ban mountain range extended for 1,000,000 miles. Fierce battles broke out in every mountain range, every cliff, every inch of land, every inch of land, every inch of blood. After this battle, the entire Ban mountain range would be dyed red with blood. Well, at this moment, when the battle was at its fiercest, a bugle horn was blown, and an endless stream of watery light covered the sky. A large water flag fluttered high in the air, while countless water-kind armies rushed up from the great river south of the Ban mountain. Countless water-kind armies raised sky-devouring waves, surging towards the Ban mountain range. Gong Gong clan? They finally came to join the war? Turning around and looking at the scene behind him, Emperor Shun let out a long sigh, then smilingly nodded. No matter what, the Gong Gong clan came to join the war, which means they are quite sensible. They sent their army to join the war without notifying us. Si Wenming slightly knitted his eyebrows, somehow feeling that something was not right. The situation is urgent. Don't worry about such a small thing like not notifying us. Before he finished, Emperor Shun abruptly burst with a raging growl. Gong Gong bastards! How dare you! Down below, the water-kind army rushed out from the Great River and actually attacked the human army guarding the Ban mountain range. The human army didn't manage to react in time and encountered the sharp dagger from the traitors. They were attacked from both front and back, and were in a precarious situation. Damn it! Gong Gong, that be***star betrayed us. Si Wenming roared out in rage, grabbed his black iron sword, and rushed out. Zhou Mountain Clan, Lime Mountain Clan, Huashu Clan, come with me. Leading the last reserve force, Si Wenming roared out and rushed down the Ban mountain range, fending against the attack from the Gong Gong clan. Has the traitor of the human clan launched an attack? On the 12 pyramidal battleships, the 12 non-humankind emperors saw this and instantly laughed out loud. The time is right. Let's combine our powers and build the great magic formation of annihilation. We will break the Ban mountain and wipe out these barbarians. In the sky, the 12 pyramidal battleships released streams of light, interweaving with each other and forming a boundless great magic formation in the air. Buzz, countless black lightning bolts wove around the 12 pyramidal battleships, while the endless power of destruction condensed and condensed. In the middle of the great magic formation, a purely dark and deep black hole appeared. Boom! A nearly 10 miles wide black light column blasted out from the black hole. Countless dragon-sized black lightning bolts coiled around the light column, striking down violently along with sky-shaking booms. The divine magic formation of annihilation. Seeing this destructive light column, Emperor Shun's heart turned cold. Is our humankind going to perish? Under this strike, the Ban mountain would collapse, and the battle line would collapse. From then on, the non-humankind would march straight into the human army, and that would be enough to wipe out the humankind. Chapter 9:15. The Divine Magic Formation of Annihilation. The saint-level magic formation possessed by the non-humankind, the ultimate trump card. The 12 emperors in power combined their powers, consumed countless divine materials, and even had to permanently damage their powers to activate this saint-level magic formation. Under this strike, Emperor Shun couldn't defend himself against it even if he risked his own life. But we have to block it even if we can't. Turning around, Emperor Shun glanced around, looked at this beautiful land, looked at these human warriors who were bathing in blood and fighting. Hot tears gushed out of his eyes. May the heaven protect our humankind. Emperor Shun took a deep breath, then raised the Xianyuan sword high. His strength, natural reward power, and natural fortune were all sent into the sword. Then, without hesitation, he rushed towards this beam of annihilation. B** starred. In the chaos, Yu Daoran burst with a raging growl and stood up. Around his body, for beams of sword light dazzled out. Brother, we can't step in. The white-haired priest Dachi gave a long sigh and said, If we do, those non-humankind saints will do the same. 3 suns and 9 moons, they have 12 saints. Once we step in, the humankind will perish even faster. Priest Ching Wei raised the Pangu flag, then put it down disappointedly. Back then, when the non-humankind first arrived, we had a fight. At last, we reached a stalemate and made a promise not to step in. If we do, they will certainly do the same. My 3 friends, I can't stand it anymore. Goddess Nuwa showed up before the 3. She straightened her long, shapely eyebrows and raged. In the worst case, we can do another fight. Watching this, I feel so aggrieved. Exactly. Even if we risk our lives, we have to drag them down with us. Let's see if they dare to do that. Yu Daoran was a hot-tempered man. Hearing Goddess Nuwa, he couldn't bear it any longer. In this case, let's do another fight. Priest Dachi had just stood up when he saw the scene on Midland. He instantly burst into a scream. The conversation between the sages seemed to have taken a long time, but it was actually only a short moment. Within this short moment, when Emperor Shun raised the Xianyuan sword and risked his life to stop the destructive light beam, something unexpected happened. Roar! A sky-shaking dragon roar could be heard. Following the roar, a gigantic dragon, which was 129,600 miles long and had been releasing an inexhaustible power of destruction, showed up before the light beam and blocked Emperor Shun's way. Roar! The dragon's mouth, which was filled with endless destructive and murderous aura, opened like a black hole and bit down viciously on the beam of light. Crack! As if it were corporeal, the entire beam of destructive light was bitten down by this colossal dragon. Suddenly, it was crushed and annihilated. Dragon Mother, Chaos Origin Dragon. At that moment, the countless people that were paying attention to the battle were suddenly startled and cried out in alarm. Dragon Mother? She finally realized her mistake? In the chaotic void, the 3 pure ones and Nuwa froze for a moment, then burst into laughter. With Dragon Mother taking action, the dragons must have taken action as well. There was nothing to worry about. Dragon Mother's power was enough to deal with the current situation. The destructive light beam released by the 12 emperors together was as powerful as a saint's attack. But who was Dragon Mother? She was a ferocious Chaos Origin Dragon who even dared to attack Pangu. Even though Dragon Mother was weaker than his elder brother and had been suppressed for countless years, with Li Yu's help, it wouldn't be hard for Dragon Mother to regain her power as a saint. Dragon Mother, who had brought disaster to the world for countless years and committed countless sins, would actually help the human race. After being suppressed for countless years, she finally changed her nature. His Majesty Emperor Yu smiled, but didn't say anything. Roar! At that moment, a sonorous dragon roar could be heard from the eastern sky. Golden light flooded the sky. Tens of thousands of true dragons, densely packed, radiated divine light as they surged over. Brothers of the human race, I am Ao Guang, the eldest son of the dragon ancestor. The first golden dragon raised his head and roared towards the sky. Our bloodline comes from Pangu, and we share the same ancestor. Brothers of the human race, we are here. Today we will fight side by side and restore the glory of Pangu's bloodline. Boys, kill all non-humankind beings. Show your human brothers the bravery of our dragon warriors. Roar! Sky-shaking dragon roars could be heard. Dazzling golden dragons roared towards the sky and swept over like a raging tide, violently striking into the non-humankind battle formation. Victory, the unexpected reinforcement, the powerful reinforcement that came from a hopeless situation, made all human warriors on Chi-Ban Mountain cheer out loud. Dragons are here to help. At this moment, Emperor Shun, who was planning to launch a life-risking attack, had a hot blood surging into his heart. He was so excited that his eyes even turned red. Brothers of the dragon kind, welcome. Let us fight side by side and restore the glory of Pangu's bloodline. Warriors of the human race, our dragon brothers are here. Kill. Wipe out the non-humankind. Raising the Xianyuan sword high, Emperor Shun roared towards the sky. Wipe out the non-humankind. The morale of human warriors was boosted up, and they instantly roared out. Buzz. All of a sudden, a buzzing noise could be heard. This is... As the human emperor, Emperor Shun suddenly found that the natural fortune of the humankind had changed dramatically. At this moment, the natural fortune of the humankind and the dragonkind had merged into one. The natural fortune of the two races merged into one. From the Heaven Prayer altar in Ban City, a bright yellow stream of natural fortune rose into the sky. A golden dragon coiled around the pillar of light, like a dragon coiling around pillar. The dragon kind, their natural fortune, seems to have improved greatly. Above the clouds, on a boundless floating island, among countless parasol trees, a five-colored phoenix suddenly popped out her phoenix-like eyes and fixed her eyes on a stream of natural fortune above the Heaven Prayer altar in Ban City. The natural fortune of two bloodlines with the same origin can merge into one. From now on, they will prosper together, and it seems that they will never die out. The five-colored phoenix blinked and nodded. I see. Are the dragon kind doing this for the natural fortune as well? The natural fortune of the two races has merged into one. As long as one race is alive, the natural fortune of the two races will never die out. Thus, it will never die out. Understanding this, the five-colored phoenix laughed out loud. The dragon kind, the phoenix kind, and the human kind. Now, the dragon kind and the human kind have merged into one. How can we, the phoenix kind, miss out? Boom! Colorful phoenixes swayed in the sky, while the light of five virtues swept across the world. Boys, our human brothers and our dragon brothers are fighting against the non-human kind. We, the phoenix kind, share the same origin. How can we just sit back and watch? Phoenix kind, move out. Follow me to support our brothers. While flapping their wings, countless phoenixes swooshed out of the parasol trees, roaring down to the Chi-Ban battlefield. Brothers of the humankind, brothers of the dragon kind, phoenix kind, and the dragon kind. How can we miss out on this war? A phoenix caw could be heard. Countless colorful phoenixes flapped their wings and descended from the sky, rushing into the non-humankind's battle formation. The phoenix kind is here too? Ha ha! Seeing this, Emperor Shun laughed out loud. He couldn't help but be overjoyed. We share the same origin. Our three races are brothers. Brothers, let's fight side by side and wipe out the non-humankind. However, compared with the timely help provided by the dragon kind, the phoenix kind was only the icing on the cake. Chapter 9:16. Damn barbarians. You've broken the rules. In the 12 pyramids, the 12 non-humankind emperors trembled in anger. Saints can't interfere with mortal affairs. How dare you send out a saint? You've broken the rules. Rules? You're talking about rules with me? The enormous chaos dragon roared. Endless power of slaughter and destruction gathered between her claws and teeth. Don't you know? I, Dragon Mother, never follow rules. Boom! A huge dragon claw tore through the air and smashed down on a pyramid battleship in front of her. Boom! Light flashed like a sun exploding in the sky. Dragon Mother's claw smashed down, and a 1,000-mile-wide pyramid exploded into dust. Everything was destroyed, including a non-humankind emperor in power. Bastard! How dare you be so presumptuous? You're a saint, but we have saints too. One of the emperors died, just like that. The other emperors hurriedly patted their chests and spat out a mouthful of essence blood, which turned into runes that were as bright as the sun and the moon. Blood moon above, high moon above, gold sun above. The emperors summoned their ancestors and the 12 saints of the 3 suns and 9 moons with their blood. Complaining when you're crying? Are you still children? Dragon Mother sneered coldly. Her enormous dragon body dashed over, one after another, crushing the remaining 11 pyramids and killing the 12 non-humankind emperors in power. How dare you? How dare you? Damn you! Furious roars rang out, shaking heaven and earth. Boom! 3 suns and 9 moons rushed out of the void and showed up in the sky of Pango World. You've broken the rules. You must be punished. The light of the suns and moons cover the world. Their vast auras made all living beings in the world tremble. Damn it! You've broken the rules. 3 pure ones and you are rushed out. We didn't do anything. Dragon Mother did. She didn't make any agreements with you. How could she break the rules? All right, actually, we don't really care about rules. A mocking voice rang out from within a golden sun. We've been pestering you for so long that we're getting impatient. Why are you still talking nonsense with them? Exterminate them and take this world into our hands. Kill. The figures of the 3 suns and 9 moons appeared one after another. 12 saints of foreign races charged toward the 3 pure ones, Nuwa and Dragon Mother. 5 against 12. The difference in strength was more than double. Even though the 3 pure ones, Nuwa and the Dragon Mother, were doing their best, they were having a hard time dealing with it. Damn it! Are those 2 bastards from the Western sect still not going to make a move at this time? Tong Tian set up the immortal slaying sword formation and blocked the attack of a cold moon saint. He turned his head to look at the western heaven and cursed. You're counting on them. I'm already surprised that they didn't join hands with the outsiders. Goddess Nviwa snorted and waved the mountain river map to block Jin Yong, Sage's attack. She then answered bitterly. Why are you still talking nonsense? Just kill them. Dragon Mother roared and swung her claw. Ha! You're right. Tong Tian laughed out loud. For beams of sword light rose into the sky, roaring across the sky. Have the 12 saints of a non-humankind arrived? Liu raised his head and looked at the battle in the sky. He smiled and said, the 12 saints are here. As a mastermind behind this, Pan Yu should have heard about this, right? Pan Yu, the creator of this world, was a little special. The 12 saints of a non-humankind were all saints of the great path of Pan Yu world, but in fact, they were also tools released by Pan Yu. The non-humankind had invaded countless worlds and occupied countless worlds. In essence, they were all helping Pan Yu. The 12 saints seemed to be powerful and mighty, but in fact, they were all fat pigs raised by Pan Yu. When he wanted to eat them, he would naturally swallow them. Is Pan Yu still not here? He wants to occupy this world through the 12 saints and devour the origin of this world. Is he not going to show up himself? What a pity. Liu smilingly shook his head and said, what a pity. How can I let you do what you want? Standing up, Liu raised his eyes to the sky and nodded smilingly. Pretty girl, are you free? Why don't we meet? What nonsense are you talking about? The space slightly trembled. Then Pan Shi showed up beside Liu, blushing. Looking at the group of saints who were fighting in the sky, Pan Shi smiled and said, you want me to fight them? 3 suns and 9 moons? You can destroy them with a wave of your hand. Why did you call me over? I'm too strong. If I accidentally break the plants, it'll be troublesome. This is someone else's house, and I won't feel bad if I break the plants. But I know the owner of this house, so I'm a little embarrassed. Liu chuckled, then glanced at Pan Shi and said, so, pretty girl, I'll have to trouble you. Of course, he was spouting nonsense. With Liu's ability and his precise control over his own strength, there was no way that he would accidentally destroy the flowers and plants. The reason why he asked Pan Shi to make a move was because she was weaker. Pan Yu wouldn't be so scared that he wouldn't dare to come over. Are you saying that I'm very weak? Pan Shi rolled her eyes, and an exquisite bronze mirror appeared in her hand. Since Daoist brother has given the order, I can only do my best. Wait a minute, I'll give you the authority first. With a wave of his hand, a speck of light fell on Pan Shi. The heavenly Tao of this world? Taoist brother, is this your world? How can you bless me with the heavenly Tao of this world? Sensing the law that controlled everything in the world, Pan Shi looked at Li Yu in shock. I already said that it's someone else's house. It's just that that guy is more familiar with me. Li Yu laughed dryly. He couldn't possibly say that he had robbed Pangu, right? All right, with the blessing of these laws, it's much more convenient. My strength is still far from recovering to its peak. At this point, Pan Shi glared at Li Yu again. It was this guy who had messed around and squandered all the strength she had accumulated over countless years. Until now, she had only recovered a small portion of it. In her own world, there was naturally no problem. In another world, her strength seemed a little insufficient. Li Yu naturally knew what was going on. Feeling guilty, he could only laugh dryly, not knowing how to answer. All right, I'll help you deal with those guys. Pan Shi smiled, waved her hand, and threw out the Pan Shi mirror. Boom! A huge explosion erupted between heaven and earth. A bronze mirror burst out with a bright light, and the divine light was vast and mighty, illuminating heaven and earth. At this moment, the entire world resonated with this bronze mirror, as if it was the ruler of all things in the world, the source of everything in the world. Under the illumination of this light, all the alien races, from the sages of the 3 suns and 9 moons to the ordinary alien races with low strength, felt their bodies freeze. Heaven and earth hated. Heaven and earth destroyed. Everything in the world was repelling them, targeting them, and attacking them. Pangu. As soon as this power appeared, the 3 pure ones and Yuhua were shocked, but they found that it was a mirror, not the Pangu axe or the creation jade disc as they had imagined. How could someone like Pangu use a mirror? However, there was no time to think so much at this time. Let's fight first. Boom. Under this situation, the 3 pure ones and Yuhua's strength skyrocketed, while the alien sages were repelled by heaven and earth, and their strength was greatly reduced. Therefore, the 12 sages were chased away and beaten up by the 3 pure ones and Yuhua. Chapter 9:17. That's good enough. Looking at the battle between the sages and the void, Pan Shi smiled and turned to look at Li Yu. You rascal, you must be up to no good. You brought me here to be a bait, didn't you? What are you talking about? Li Yu shook his head with a smile. Of course, I called you here to meet and talk. Nonsense. Pan Shi stomped her feet, blushing again. All right, no more jokes. Li Yu pointed at the 3 suns and 9 moons. Behind them, there's a world-creating being. That guy named Panyu is very ambitious. He wants to devour all the worlds in this universe and become the sole dominator of this world. If I let that guy go, I'm afraid even your world and countless other worlds will fall into his hands. So, I used the origin of this world to attract him, lure him out, and kill him. I see. Pan Shi praised. Brother, you're so kind. However, Pan Shi somehow felt that the reason of meeting and talking seemed to be more pleasing. Boom! At this moment, an earth-shattering boom suddenly exploded in the void. Crack! 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 The sound of space shattering resounded as a pitch-black, boundless palm broke through the boundary of the ancient world and reached in from the boundless primordial chaos void. It was a huge arm. The arm was entirely black, tens of millions of miles long. It was as black as ink, but as translucent as jade. The smooth lines of the arm were smooth and delicate, as if it were carved out of the best jade, giving off a strange luster. Countless patterns of Tao swirled around the arm, forming countless patterns that looked like clouds. It was just an arm, but it emitted a power that could cover the sky and cover the earth. It was a power that was above all living beings and all living things. It was as if this was the origin of everything in the world. Dark sun descends. How is this possible? How can he wake up? It's over. It's over. Doomsday is upon us. Upon seeing this arm, the 12 sages of the 3 suns and 9 moons instantly turned pale with fright. They trembled uncontrollably as cold sweat rolled down their backs. You know where he came from? This sudden turn of events caused the three pure ones and the others to stop what they were doing. They asked the 12 saints in confusion. He is the dark sun, the creator of our world, the source of everything, the ancestor of all living beings. Gold Sun Sage's face was filled with panic as he replied. He is also the wielder of apocalypse and destruction. For countless years, he has been in a deep slumber. We have also done everything we could to make him fall into a deep slumber, not giving him a chance to wake up. But he still woke up. Once he wakes up, he will definitely devour countless worlds. The Frost Moon Saint's face turned pale. This world will be destroyed. Run. I hope we have a chance to escape. After saying that, the 12 sages turned around and ran without hesitation. They fled towards the void, away from Pan-Gu world. Run? My children, why did you run when you saw the Great Father? The sound of the void shattering grew louder, and a huge pitch-black head emerged from the crack in the void. There was not a single hair on his bald head. It was as if his head was carved out of gemstones. There were only a few slits, symbolically representing his mouth, nose, and ears. But it had an eye. From the forehead to the nose, it was occupied by an enormous eye. There was a faint layer of blood-red light around his black eyes. Countless black streams of light were spinning rapidly in his eyes, like a black whirlpool. Every moment, a huge amount of heaven and earth yuan qi was being sucked into his eyes. 3 suns and 9 moons? Is this your new name? How many times has it been? All right, it doesn't matter how many times it has been. All of you were born as tools that I released. Everything you have, your flesh, your souls, the laws you have comprehended, everything you have is given to you by me. Rejoice. Jump for joy. You have earned the glory of returning to the embrace of the Father. Then despair. Go ahead and cry. How? This world will be destroyed. Everything will return to the original origin, to me. Boom! There was a violent explosion in the void, and a pitch-black and gigantic body entered this world. He seemed to have the sky above his head and the earth beneath his feet. The entire world was filled by him. What a wonderful world! On the enormous head, the thin crack slightly opened, from which a deep, hoarse, evil voice resounded through the entire Pan-Gu world. Such a strong and abundant original world, full of life force, full of opportunities of creation. This world should belong to me. Pan-Yu, it can only belong to me. On the enormous head, the dark red erect, I looked like a dark sun. At this moment, this dark sun, I was looking at the 12 saints, who were fleeing in all directions. My children, return to the embrace of the Father. Everything that belongs to you is mine. A blood-red vortex appeared in the dark red vertical eye. A boundless, devouring force was emitted from the vortex. Boom, boom, boom. The 12 saints, who were about to run out of Pan-Gu world, suddenly quivered, then exploded into spheres of light. 3 suns, 9 moons. The 12 saints instantly turned into suns and moon-shaped light spheres, then were rolled up by the blood-red whirlpool and merged with Pan-Yu's body. Not bad, not bad. These years, you found so many worlds. These worlds aren't as good as this one, but they're good appetizers. Pan-Yu opened his mouth and inhaled. Through the connection between the 12 saints and the countless worlds conquered by the non-human kind, Pan-Yu directly devoured the original powers of these worlds. In the chaos, countless worlds conquered by the non-human kind were facing their doomsday at this very moment. The worlds collapsed, and everything turned into nothingness. Only the pure original powers were left, being swallowed by Pan-Yu. At the same time, non-humankind creatures spread across countless worlds, transformed into streams of light, and merged with Pan-Yu's body. The first to bear the brunt were all non-humankind beings in Pan-Gu world. At this very moment, non-humankind beings on Chi-Ban battlefield and living in non-humankind territories all exploded, transformed into streams of light, and merged with Pan-Yu's body. The non-humankind beings who invaded Pangu world were wiped out by Panyu himself, just like this. However, this sudden victory did not make anyone happy. Seeing that enormous silhouette, everyone, including Emperor Shun, had their faces turned pale in fright. Panyu was as powerful as Pangu. How could they possibly fight against such a terrifying being? Panyu ate billions of non-humankind beings who invaded Pangu world with a single bite. Pangu, and Pangu wouldn't be able to harm even a hair of his, would they? How could such a terrifying being exist? The three pure ones, Nuwa, and Dragon Mother were all stunned. They were all saints, but saints were only appetizers for Panyu. The power gap was so huge that they couldn't even fight. This part was changed. The original author didn't understand the power system of the original work. Therefore, he treated the 3 suns and 9 moons as saints and didn't write about those non-humankind saints. Chapter 9:18. Brother, this Panyu is so vicious. As the creator of a world, She was very disgusted by the act of devouring creatures born in his own world. Not to mention the fact that Panyu had devoured countless worlds. He was the public enemy of all Pangu. So, Liu chuckled, so I have to kill him. But, looking at the terrifying Panyu, she looked at Liu worriedly and said, Brother, this Panyu is very powerful. Even if you and I join hands, we might not be able to take him down. You think too much. Liu smilingly waved his hand and said, I never thought about risking my life on the battlefield. Brother, what do you mean? She stared blankly, her head filled with confusion. She had no idea what Liu meant. I lured him here to make him fall into my trap. Liu smilingly shook his head and said, I've been busy in this world for so long. How can I not have some tricks up my sleeve? If he doesn't devour these non-humankind beings, I might really have to fight him. Turning to Liu smiled and said, Beauty, let's go. I'll take you to show off. She was dumbfounded. She had no idea what Liu was talking about. Rumble. A mighty light swept across the world. Black and yellow surged, and yin and yang flowed. A splendid golden bridge stretched across the sky. On this golden bridge, Liu and she walked side by side, slowly approaching. They seemed to be walking slowly, but they seemed to ignore the distance and space. It was as if these two figures were everywhere, yet nowhere. At this moment, everyone in Pangu world had their eyes fixed on these two figures. One was a young man in a fluttering white robe, while the other was a beautiful girl. They were ordinary people, but they were as huge as the entire world. What is that? When Qing Ming saw the man and woman casually strolling over, he was so shocked that his jaw dropped. That is the sovereign of the myriad worlds, the paragon of endless space-time. In Qing Ming's mind, the Wood Sovereign gave Liu a huge bootlick. Old man, who is this person? Looks like it's not inferior to that black giant. Jihao asked Pangu as well. Those are existences on par with Pangu. Pangu let out a long sigh, feeling depressed in his heart. Bastard, this is my house. Who allowed you bastards to come in here? He didn't even greet him. Well, Pangu himself knew that with his current state of true spirit, even if someone wanted to greet him, they wouldn't be able to find him. Were they the ones who attacked just now? Are these two people like Pangu? The three pure ones and Nuwa were stunned. All of a sudden, three existences on par with Pangu had arrived. After a fight, would there still be any dregs left in this world? Master is here. Unlike the three pure ones in Nuwa, Dragon Mother screamed in surprise when she saw Liu. Master is here. This black baldy won't have a chance to run wild. Master, the three pure ones and Nuwa were shocked as well. Was this man Dragon Mother's master? Was he the Chaos Dragon King? That would be a big trouble. Chaos dragons were murderous and destructive. Not even a dregs of this world would be left. You two are the creators of this world? Panyu turned to Liu and Shi, his dark red erect, eye erupting with a sky-devouring blood-red light. How can such a good thing happen? I'll devour you too, than the origin of this world. Then, I'll be able to break into a higher level. Interesting. Liu looked at Pan Yu and smilingly shook his head. What gave you the illusion that everything is under your control? More importantly, you only have one eye. But can't you see that I'm stronger than you? With a loud bang, Liu directly released his aura. That boundless power quaked the entire Pangu world, as if even the world couldn't contain Liu's existence. Everywhere, everywhere. However, regardless of whether it was the river of time or the spatial node, Liu did not exist. One moment was 10,000, and one moment was eternity. More importantly, Pan Yu shockingly found that the distance between him and Liu seemed to have disappeared. Size, distance, height, length, width, height. All these dimensions seemed to have disappeared. You. Pan Yu was stunned. Could someone really reach that level? Pan Yu spent an immeasurable amount of time and devoured countless worlds. Didn't he want to be the only one in the chaos? Didn't he want to return to the origin and trace back to the chaos? At this very moment, a chaos was standing right in front of him, alive. Pan Yu was stunned. Why do people say that there's a world in a grain of sand? The chaos is immeasurable. Dimensions of length, width, and height can be ignored. After that, a leaf, a grain of sand, having a world in it is as easy as lifting a hand. Liu turned and talked to Pan Shi, as if he didn't care about Pan Yu's existence at all. Brother, you've actually reached such a high level? This is the origin of the chaos, isn't it? We were born in the chaos, and we will return to the chaos. Is this the true meaning of the chaos? Pan Shi looked at Liu in shock. She had studied the chaos and had some understandings about it. But she didn't think that Liu had already reached such a high level. This is only a part of the characteristics of the chaos. Liu smiled, restrained his power, and raised his eyes to look at Pan Yu, who was still in a daze. Now, you know the gap between us, don't you? Gap. You have made a step ahead of me in the understanding of the chaos. But how can you accumulate as much power as I do? I'll show you what the strongest power is. With a thunderous roar, Pan Yu raised his arm and slapped down violently at Liu with the terrifying power accumulated from devouring countless worlds. Boom! With this strike, the whole world seemed to be shattered. The space collapsed, and the natural powers were wiped out. Everything returned to nothingness. Seeing this strike, everyone in the world paled in fright. As I thought, not even a trace of you is left. The three pure ones and Goddess Nuwa smiled bitterly together. However, facing a power at this level, they couldn't do anything. They couldn't even step in. How dare you? Facing this mighty strike, Liu clasped his hands behind his body and yelled at Pan Yu. How dare you, rebellious slave? You've committed a monstrous sin, yet you still dare to disobey your master? Kneel down. This rebuke scared everyone in the world silly. So, even Pan Yu is this man's slave? Be *starred. I'm the god of creation, an invincible being who devoured worlds. How dare you accuse me of being a slave? How can I? Pan Yu was about to yell, but suddenly he found that he actually couldn't help but kneel down like this. No, this is impossible. How can I be someone else's slave? Before he finished, Liu wielded his sleeve. Following his move, Pan Yu fell into Liu's hands without any power to struggle. The concept of size could be ignored now. Pan Yu's enormous body became a doll, held in Liu's hands. I was careless. I let my slave bring disaster to the world. I'm ashamed. Liu clasped his hands behind his body and smiled, looking like an otherworldly being. Brother, is this showing off? Pan Shi blinked his eyes and asked, seeming to understand Ji Hao. Liu's smile froze. He was speechless for a long while. You can just shout 666 when you see me showing off. Why did you expose me? You don't know how to cooperate at all. Chapter 919. Why was Pan Yu trapped so badly? Liu knew Pan Yu's nature well, so it was way too easy for him to trap Pan Yu. Since Pan Yu wanted to devour creatures, he even wanted to devour creatures born in his own world. Who else could he trap but himself? How did the dark immortal emperor die? He devoured a non-humankind being who was put in a system by Liu. The system bound Pan Yu to himself, so he surely couldn't do anything. We won, just like this. On Ban Mountain, Emperor Shun raised the Xinyuan sword, turned around, and looked around, feeling that everything around him was unreal. The non-humankind, which had been rampaging for countless years, was destroyed, just like this. And even the god of creation of a non-humankind was taken in. Master, greetings! The dragons lowered their heads and cowed out. What's going on? Seeing this, even Pangu was dumbfounded. The dragonkind was his bloodline, his descendants. But how did this happen? At this moment, Pangu suddenly felt like his own child calling someone else father. He was so upset. More importantly, where's this man from? Was Pangu only his slave? Then how frightening was his identity? Get up. Liu smiled and nodded. You did a good job. I'm glad. The natural fortune of Pangu, and Pangu combined into one. This is the trend of the great Tao of nature. Protect the humankind well. Do not slack off. Yes, master. The group of dragons bowed to Ji Hao. Dragon Mother and Ao Guangjio stay. The other dragons, you can leave. Yes, master. Except for Dragon Mother and the 9 dragons transformed by Liu, the other dragons all left. You've finished your mission. You can come back now. Liu smiled at Dragon Mother and Ao Guangjio, then waved his hand and took them back. The 9 dragons were Liu's legs for pulling the chariot. Without a doubt, he had to take them back. In this world, I didn't spend much time, but I gained a lot. Pan Yu was his biggest gain. Liu smiled and took Pan Yu back in his body, then turned to Ban Mountain. Panga's karma has yet to be settled in this world. After arriving in this world, Liu robbed Pangu and learned the great Tao of Pangu world from him. Now, he naturally had to repay Pangu. Fellow Taoist Pangu, the world you created hasn't been perfected yet. Let me give you a hand. Liu glanced at Ji Hao, then turned around and looked at Qing Ming with a faint smile on his face. Young man, this Qing Tian of yours doesn't live up to your name. I will give you an opportunity to become a heavenly sage, giving you the possibility of reaching the peak of this world. Boom! Suddenly, Qing Stix's mind was shaken. The builder tree, the wood empress, seemed to be about to break through the sky and fly away. Wood empress, this is His Majesty Emperor. You ordered me to transform into the world tree of this world to supplement the heavenly Tao. The wood empress chuckled. Young man, don't worry. I won't leave. My imprint is still in your mind. His Majesty Emperor you? The one who subdued that black giant? Qing Ming glanced at the sky with a shocked face. Would Empress, you and His Majesty Emperor you? His Majesty Emperor you is my master. The Wood Empress suddenly felt a little embarrassed. Young man, I am a branch of the world tree in the garden of Emperor Yu's immortal mansion. The Wood Empress, an almost omnipotent being, was actually just a branch of a tree in His Majesty Emperor Yu's garden. Qing Ming was stunned. Emperor Yu is merciful. He couldn't bear to see this world become incomplete and all living beings suffer. He ordered me to come and save the world. Now it's time for me to play my role. The Wood Empress laughed out loud. Young man, this is a good thing. This is an opportunity for you and me. Once I transform into the world tree, this is your chance. You will have the opportunity to become a heavenly sage. I'm going now. A beam of green light shot up into the sky and transformed into a 3-meter-long emerald green branch. Li reached out his hand and waved. The emerald green branch fell into his hand. The Wood Empress is actually a branch. Qing Ming scratched his head. He felt that these powerful beings were simply unimaginable. Pangu, I will help you complete this world. He waved his hand and sent the branch into the ground of Middle-earth. Then he flicked his finger and sent a beam of light into the branch. This beam of light was the power he extracted from Pan Yu's body. Boom! A thunderous sound was heard. A beam of green light shot up into the sky. Amidst the green light, an emerald green tree grew rapidly. Its roots spread out, and its branches and leaves fluttered. In the blink of an eye, it grew into an enormous tree that reached the sky and the earth. All right, it's done. After doing all this, Liu turned his head and smiled at Pan Shi, who was standing quietly beside him. Then, he waved his hand and released a large chariot, which was pulled by 9 golden dragons. Running away after showing off had become His Majesty Emperor Yu's habit. The 9 dragons' willing chariot is finally worthy of its name. Liu smilingly signaled to Pan Shi. Pretty lady, get on. After saying this, Liu actually recalled the days when he was still a loser. He once dreamed that one day he would be able to say, pretty lady, get onto a pretty lady. Brother, your chariot is indeed extraordinary. Pan Shi praised, then got on the chariot. The chariot flew forward and left Pangu world in a blink of an eye. Only a bunch of people were left, looking at each other in confusion. The dragon ancestor's son pulled his chariot? Goddess Nuwa looked at the chariot and shook her head. Since the dragon kind has acknowledged him as their master, it's not strange for the dragon ancestor's son to pull his chariot. Even Pan Yu is his servant. Who on earth is that man? Tong Tian gave a bitter smile. Wasn't this senior a little too powerful? Even Pan Yu, who was as powerful as Pan Gu, was only his servant. That tree. Looking at the towering tree, Yuanshi was shocked. Could it be Rumble? At this moment, the towering tree had grown to its largest size. Its branches reached into the starry sky and pierced through the stars. On the branches, the leaves suddenly lifted up, stars one after another. The roots of the tree penetrated the earth, spreading to the entire world along the earth veins. Midland, the 4 wastelands, and the 5 continents were all strung together by these roots. My name is Wood Emperor. By the order of His Majesty Emperor Yu, I am here to carry the heavenly Tao, unify the 5 continents, and adjust the stars in the universe to make up for the deficiency of heaven and earth. On this gigantic tree, a mighty voice reverberated throughout the world. Rumble. With a deafening boom, the 5 continents that were separated in the void slowly converged amid a series of violent rumbles. East, west, north, and south, the 4 continents merged with Midland. Panga continent was officially complete. Clang, the heavenly Tao resonated, and heaven and earth praised. Since Pangu created the world, the deficiency of heaven and earth and the heavenly Tao had been fully filled. Panga world was now complete, without any defects. Wood Emperor's virtues are boundless. At this moment, even the 3 pure ones, Goddess Nuwa, and the others bowed with admiration. Heaven and earth were complete, and the heavenly Tao was complete. As saints of the heavenly Tao, they were not only stronger, but they also didn't have to sacrifice themselves to fuse with the heavenly Tao. However, they still had a question in their minds. Wood Emperor, may I know His Majesty Emperor Yu's background? The 3 pure ones and Goddess Nuwa asked in unison. My lord, His Majesty Emperor Yu, is Han Yuan Wuji, Hongmeng Taisher, Daoyuo Zhizhen, and Yu Huang de Tianzuan. My lord is the origin of all worlds, the master of all time and space. Wood Emperor answered proudly. Then everyone was dumbfounded. Even Panga was dumbfounded. This name, this background was too scary, wasn't it? Chapter 920. Tao brother, you came out of seclusion? On this day, when Liu came out of seclusion, Pan Shi greeted him with a smile. After leaving Panga world, Liu came to Pan Shi's world and stayed there for 10 whole years. Yes, after Liu finished acting cool, he stayed in a beautiful woman's house and spent 10 years with her. According to some sayings, if he moved faster, his son would be in primary school. But Liu had been in seclusion here for 10 whole years, destined to be alone. Brother, if you do this, you can only rub yourself to death. Yes, after 10 years of seclusion, I have some gains. Liu smiled at Pan Shi and nodded. After the immeasurable primal chaos, I comprehended another characteristic of primal chaos. This method is called formless primal chaos. Primal chaos was formless, and traceless. It had no size or shape. At this moment, once Li Yu released his primal chaos aura, it would appear as if nothing existed in the eyes of others. For anyone with a lower realm than Li Yu, even if Li Yu stood in front of them, they wouldn't be able to sense Li Yu's existence. However, it was like a blind man touching an elephant. Li Yu's comprehension of primal chaos had only touched upon two characteristics of primal chaos. He was still very far away from the complete primal chaos. It was just that in this world, it was impossible to obtain a bigger harvest. Pan Shi, I've disturbed you for many days. I should also take my leave. Cultivating in seclusion in this world was naturally to save time. 1 year in this world was only 1 day in the origin world. If he cultivated in the origin world, it would be too much of a waste of time. According to the origin world's time, he would have already woken up after 10 years. How could you be willing to waste time in the origin world? Dao brother, are you leaving? Pan Shi's heart was somewhat sad. This Dao brother's background was extraordinary, so he naturally couldn't stay here for a long time. It was just that the time to part was too early. With Pan Shi's concept of time, 10 years was just a blink of an eye. Pan Shi, I'll leave a building here for you. This building has the ability to cross realms, allowing us to cross realms at any time. What Li Yu left behind was naturally the shopping center. This universe was vast. Although top-grade worlds like Pan Shi World were few and far between, there were many secondary worlds like Pan Shi World. To Li Yu, this part of the universe was still somewhat useful. Crossover? Can I go to your mansion at any time? Pan Shi's eyes lit up, and he was filled with joy. Fellow Taoist, please cast the spell. What materials do you need? Pan Shi has many natural treasures that were born at the beginning of the world. There's no need for innate spiritual items either. Li Yu waved his hand, and a huge jade-white floating island with a radius of 100 miles instantly flew over and stopped in front of Li Yu. This floating island is made of Taishan snow jade. It's perfect for me. He pointed his finger, and light spread out. The entire white jade floating island instantly melted, and exquisite palaces appeared in the light. When the light dissipated, a jade-white palace with a radius of 100 miles appeared in front of the two of them. The quiet and elegant palace floated in the clouds, as if it was a beautiful heavenly palace. After giving Pan Shi control authority, Li Yu smiled. This is an illegal building I built in your world. What are you talking about, Dao brother? Although he didn't understand illegal building, Pan Shi was very happy when he saw this exquisite palace. I like this palace very much. I'll live here from now on. Do as you wish. Li Yu nodded with a smile. Everything is done. I'll take my leave for now. Farewell, Dao brother. Pan Shi smiled and bowed. Since this palace could be teleported to Li Yu's mansion at any time, it wasn't that they wouldn't see each other again after parting. For an existence like Pan Shi, thousands of years were negligible. Goodbye. With a wave of his hand, Li Yu's figure disappeared instantly. Between the changes in heaven and earth, Li Yu returned to the divine abode space. The user sold the system in 10 worlds and established a close connection with the 10 worlds. Advancement mission completed. User authority increased. Current authority, level 2. The shopping mall space has reached the expansion standard. Expand the shopping mall space? As soon as he returned to the divine abode, a series of system notifications sounded in his mind. I've finally completed this so-called advancement mission. It really wasn't easy. Li Yu smiled and shook his head. Is the shopping mall finally going to be expanded? Although the void area is very wide, the land has always only been a few dozen kilometers in radius. It's really too small. Then expand the space. Following Li Yu's order, the entire shopping mall space suddenly shook. The void shook, and the chaotic aura that converged at the borders of the shopping mall space suddenly erupted and surged wildly. At this moment, the void of the shopping mall space expanded countless times. The vast and boundless void was boundless, like the vast universe of stars. What changed even more were the 9 floating islands. In the past, the 9 floating islands only had a radius of 20 kilometers in total. They couldn't even stretch out their feet. At this moment, the 9 floating islands suddenly expanded dramatically. The smallest floating island was already no less than the size of the entire Earth. The 9 floating islands were like 9 huge continents. The mountains towered, the rivers surged, and a waterfall flowed down from the highest floating island, running through the 9 floating islands like a mighty heavenly river. A towering world tree pierced through the 9 floating islands, separating the 9 islands into 9 separate worlds that were connected into a single whole. At this point, Liyu's 9 heavens world could be considered to have begun to take shape. At the same time, the immortal abode itself had also skyrocketed. The immortal abode that was refined with the bronze immortal palace as the foundation had now stretched for thousands of miles. The pavilions and palaces shone with auspicious light and surrounded by immortal clouds, becoming even more majestic and magnificent. Wow, Your Majesty, you've refined the immortal abode again? This world has become so big. Yes, what a vast world. This is great. At this time, Cai, Xialing, Jin Kai, Wang Shu, Jiang Ting, and Yin Luo exclaimed together and ran to Liu. This place has become bigger. I'm going to plant trees everywhere again. A vine stretched in through the window. Tung Qing yawned, seemingly a little unhappy. Tung Qing, are you lazy to this extent? Dozing off all day long? And you still haven't transformed? Liu was really speechless towards Tung Qing, who was too lazy to even transform. No, I didn't doze off, I didn't slack off, I went to plant trees. With an exclamation, the vine instantly retracted. This gardener of the immortal abode had begun to plant trees everywhere again. Your Majesty, the immortal abode has become so much bigger, but the spiritual chi density has not decreased. It seems to have become more abundant. This is really great. Sai congratulated Liu with a face full of joy. This trip has yielded some gains. Liu smiled and nodded. He glanced at everyone and found that their cultivation had improved greatly. Even the weakest, Yin Luo, was at the heavenly human realm, which was the strength of the great emperor realm. The strongest, Sai and Xialing, were already at the heavenly monarch realm, immortal king realm. It seems that all of you have improved greatly during this period of time. Liu was very satisfied with their cultivation progress. Of course, their cultivation progress was also very normal. Liu had planted countless heavenly treasures in the garden. In addition, Tung Qing was constantly using the heavenly fortune due to ripen them, eating heavenly treasures like rice, and their cultivation had not skyrocketed. That would be too unreasonable. Chapter 921. My authority has risen to level 2. After sending Kai, Yi, and the others away, Liu sat down in the main hall of the Celestial Mansion and started to check the system's authority. It took me so long to raise my authority to level 2. System, what is the highest level of authority? Seeing that level 2 authority, Liu suddenly felt that it was a bit dazzling. System authority has a total of 3 levels. A total of 3 levels? That's good. Liu let out a sigh of relief. If this authority was set to over 100 levels, he didn't know when he would be able to reach the max level. Let's see what other functions the level 2 authority has unlocked. Actually, at Liu's current level, he didn't use many of the system's functions. Aside from occasionally scamming people and collecting things, he didn't really use the system's functions. He opened the system interface. Aside from the familiar workbench and resource library, there was now a store chain function. Store chain? Every store in every world can exchange what they need and can purchase goods from any world. Alright, this function could be ignored. With Liu's current level, was there any need for a chain store that could exchange goods? However, this function was still very useful to the various legions that were guarding the stronghold of them all. Then let's open this store chain function. After all, those people are my subordinates. It's only right to give them some benefits. Aside from the store chain, there were 2 other new functions. Choose the world I want to travel to. This function has finally appeared. Before, Liu could only rely on luck to travel to different worlds. Now, he could finally choose the world he wanted to travel to. This function was very convenient. Compared to before, he had to rely on luck. This method had a lot more autonomy and allowed him to choose a world that was more suitable for his current needs. Aside from choosing the world he wanted to travel to, there was also a law extraction function. This function was very good. He could scan and extract the laws of the world with a store or a system host. Before Liu reached the level where he needed to fuse with the laws of the world, he had to travel to several more worlds. Liu didn't have control over the laws of those worlds. With this function, the laws of Xiaoyan's world, Hong Yi's world, Han Li's world, and Wang Lin's world could all be obtained. There's no need to make another trip. It saves time. Activating the law extraction function consumed a large amount of energy to extract the laws of heaven and earth of these worlds and integrate them into his own system. As for energy consumption, Dark Immortal Emperor and Dark Giant Pan, you would stay in the resource vault. What was there to worry about? Well, no matter how evil these two guys were, they were not as evil as Li Dahe. Seeing the resource vault, Liu realized that Dragon Mother was also kept in the resource vault. What the F***CK, this time, he really kidnapped someone else's wife. Although Liu had no intention of letting the two Chaos Dragons go in the first place. But he hadn't paid much attention to it before, but now that he thought about it, it seemed a little awkward. Dragon Mother's soul has already been modified, so she shouldn't be considered someone else's wife, right? Definitely not. Finding an excuse for himself, Liu waved his hand and released Dragon Mother and the 9 dragon ancestors. Your Majesty, Dragon Mother and the 9 ancestral dragon children knelt in front of Liu. Long Mo, take Ao Guang and the others down. In Liu's reconstructed memories, Dragon Mother naturally couldn't be called Dragon Mother anymore. She was called Long Mo. She was Liu's vehicle manager, and the 9 golden dragons were naturally the ones pulling the chariot. Yes, Your Majesty. Long Mo and the 9 dragons retreated, pulling Liu's 9 dragons' wishful chariot back to the beast pen, right? However, Liu wasn't a strict person. When they had nothing to do, the 10 dragons would cause a ruckus in the Sky River waterfall. The only one left is Brother Long from the Chaos Origin Dragon. In the last world, Liu didn't get much material gains. Apart from Panyu, there were only a few dragons. Let's put this Chaos Dragon in the resource vault and dismantle it as a material. Dark Immortal Emperor and Dark Giant Panyu were both in the vault, so the Chaos Dragon could only be left here. Liu no longer lacked underlings, nor did he lack fighters. What he lacked was the top-tier power. For this kind of power, he could only rely on himself. He couldn't take it from others. It didn't take long for me to cross worlds this time, but I gained a lot. After comprehending 2 chaos features, Liu's cultivation base made another step forward. Also, he gained the natural laws of countless worlds from Panyu, which he devoured. Essentially, the natural laws of the worlds devoured by Pan, you can only be regarded as the same system. Although they are different, they have the same origin. With the natural laws of Pangu and Panyu, the natural laws of the other worlds were actually included in the natural laws of Pangu and Panyu worlds, but with different emphasis. It's still very difficult to continuously integrate all kinds of natural laws and use them as the foundation to derive the complete chaos. Although he had already gained 2 chaos features, but evenly you couldn't be sure if these 2 features were completely correct. Slowly accumulate. There will be a day when the conditions are right. Shaking his head, Liu stopped thinking about this matter. He planned to open a new world. Time is tight, especially in the main world. Time is very precious. I can only make the best use of my time and continue to increase my strength to deal with the upcoming crisis. The him in the main world was about to wake up. If there was enough time, Liu would definitely travel the world to search for information about this him. However, he didn't have time to do this now. If I could become chaos in 10 years, then everything will be fine. If I can't, no matter how much information I find, No matter how much information I collect, it will be useless. In such an emergency, he could only grasp the most crucial thing. System, open the next world. Having just returned and dealt with the harvest of the previous world, Liu didn't stop and immediately opened the next world. Swish! The same roulette appeared in front of Liu. Different from before, Liu could choose any of the worlds shown in the grids on the roulette. There was no need for the roulette. There are 2 worlds that meet my requirements. Liu glanced at the roulette and quickly found the 2 worlds he liked. I obtained a method to create heaven and earth in Panga's world. However, Panga's method is very dangerous. After creating heaven and earth, there is the danger of dying. This method is too crude. The 2 worlds shown on the roulette both had the method to create a world in one's body. This method of creating a world of one's own was very helpful to Li Yu's study of chaos. Creating a world from one's body and experiencing the process of creating heaven and earth was slower than chopping with an axe, but was more convenient to comprehend chaos. Is it the transformation of stars or the devouring of stars? These 2 worlds had the same origin, but their laws were different. One was a different world, the other was Earth. I haven't seen Earth for a long time. Let's take a look at this Earth world that devours stars. It's not too late to go to the transformation of stars next time. With a flash of light, Liu disappeared. A new journey had begun. Chapter 922. Screech. The earth-shattering screech of the eagle shook the surroundings. A gigantic black-crowned golden eagle was flying across the sky above the city. This was a gigantic, ferocious bird. Its body was nearly 30 meters long, like a large fighter jet. Its entire body was covered in light, golden feathers that shone with a metallic luster. The dark feathers on its head were like a black crown. A pair of gigantic golden claws were as sharp as blades. Boom! The black-crowned golden eagle broke through the sound barrier and let out a huge roar. A huge sound wave rushed up like a clap of thunder. Ah! This sudden roar was deafening. The people in the city below suddenly cried out in alarm. The violent sound wave shook people's eardrums. The pedestrians on the road covered their ears and squatted on the ground. Luo phone, look! Black-crowned golden eagle. It's actually a black-crowned golden eagle. On a road in the city, 2 high school students were walking on the street when they were suddenly shocked by the violent roar. One of the slightly plump high school students covered his ears and squatted on the ground. The one who shouted black-crowned golden eagle was this slightly plump high school student. As for the other youth named Luo Feng, he was still standing, as if he didn't feel the sound wave. Yes, it really is a black-crowned golden eagle. Luo Feng nodded with a calm face. But in the youth's heart, a storm was set off. There was someone on the black-crowned golden eagle's back. The youth clearly saw that on the terrifying black-crowned golden eagle's back, there was actually a white-clothed youth sitting leisurely. Black-crowned golden eagle, ranked 3rd among the eagle-type monsters. An adult black-crowned golden eagle's flying speed can reach nearly 4 times the speed of sound. After conversion, its speed is nearly 1,400 meters per second. Black-crowned golden eagle's feathers are harder than diamond. There was once a black-crowned golden eagle that attacked a human encampment and was swept by a large-caliber Vulcan cannon, but not a single feather was shot off. Recalling the biological knowledge he learned in school, Luo Feng's heart was even more shocked. Such a terrifying black-crowned golden eagle actually became a youth's mount? That person, how strong was he? Warrior? Champion? Or war god? Or a king that surpassed war god? This is power. This is the power that surpasses ordinary people. Taking a deep breath, Luo Feng's eyes lit up. I'm already an advanced student. I'll be promoted to a martial artist soon. I must become a martial artist. I must possess invincible strength. As if he had heard Luo Feng's thoughts, the white-clothed youth sitting on the back of the black-crowned golden eagle in the distant sky seemed to have turned his head. Is that the main character? Liu glanced at Luo Feng and nodded. Not bad. Another hot-blooded youth. Moreover, He's a rare hot-blooded youth with a brain. When he first came to this world, Liu was standing on a cliff in the wilderness, observing the world after the great changes. Who would have thought that a black-crowned golden eagle would attack Liu of all people? Then, Liu released a trace of his aura and scared the black-crowned golden eagle unconscious. After waking up the black-crowned golden eagle, Liu decided to use it as a ride. He took a spin in the air and observed the world after the great changes. A type of influenza virus spread throughout the world and then started the evolution of the entire world. Liu smiled and shook his head. This is obviously a new experiment done by a very, very old man called Sitting Mountain Guest. In order to escape, he did countless experiments in this universe. It was said that even humans were created by that old man. Liu rubbed his chin and smiled. The mastermind behind the scenes? That's really interesting. Although with Liu's ability, he could save that old man in minutes. But Liu thought, what does this have to do with me? You play your game, I'll play mine. Let's just play slowly. Sitting Mountain Guest wasn't evil, and he hadn't done anything that offended anyone. If, in order to make Earth evolve, causing the deaths of billions of people on Earth was not considered outrageous. Of course, Liu could not be bothered with this kind of thing. This world of Earth has changed beyond recognition. At Liu's level, distance was meaningless. At a glance, the entire Earth was in his eyes. The Earth of this world, due to evolution, caused all kinds of strange beasts to evolve crazily. Humans were harmed by strange beasts, and countless cities and countries were destroyed. In the entire world, only a few places such as China, North America, the European Union, and Russia still had the concept of country. With the rise of martial artists, the world's number one, Hong, and the world's number two, Thunder God, both had the power to hold up a country. In fact, the strongest power in this world had been transferred to the martial artists. The so-called number one in the world is just a concept that has just left the apprentice. In the entire universe, it is just the beginning of the planet-level martial artists. Liu smiled. The power system in this world is divided into martial artists and spirit readers. Martial artists train their bodies, and their strength, speed, and defense are incomparably strong. Spirit readers are a bit like the sword controlling technique. Using spirit readers to control weapons to attack was very similar to the flying sword technique of God controlling sword. A sword flies out, taking a head from 1,000 miles away. Interesting. Although it was not as exaggerated as 1,000 miles, the spirit reader's attack method was indeed very similar to the sword controlling technique. In addition to this kind of sword controlling technique, there are also spiritual attacks, such as spiritual attacks, which can also be used to control strange beasts. It's just that these two methods are not considered mainstream. After analyzing the power system of this world, Liu discovered that the use of spirit readers in this world did not involve energy control. Since spirit readers can control matter, then matter is energy, spirit readers can also control energy. For example, photons were both matter and energy. Can spirit readers control light? What about electrons? Can spirit readers control electrons? As for water and fire, that was even easier. A spirit reader master who can release flying swords and use spells should be more interesting. Liu quickly determined the next step of how to harm. Oh no, how to cultivate a hot-blooded youth. As for the system, in this world where strange beasts run rampant, killing monsters to level up is the inevitable choice. Liu smiled, turned his head to look at this world, and already had an idea in his mind. On the Earth of this world, there are countless ruins of alien civilizations or ancient civilizations. But there are no ruins of a cultivation civilization. In order to promote traditional culture, I naturally have to make some contributions. Jumping down from the black-crowned golden eagle and standing in the air, Liu waved his hand and dismissed this temporary mount. In terms of swordsmanship, in traditional culture, the most famous is naturally the Mount Shu sword sect. Liu raised his eyes and looked in the direction of Mount Shu. There happens to be a large base city over there. Just right to play a game there. Chapter 923. This is May. Seeing this towering mountain that rose from the ground, Liu smiled and nodded. Back then, he had also come to Mount Shu in that world. However, this Amei in front of him, the forest was verdant, the ancient trees towered into the sky, and the buildings and palaces that should have existed were all occupied by trees. In just a few decades, under the infusion of the heaven and earth's essence energy, Amei has already turned into a primeval forest. Liu sighed. This kind of primeval forest in the wild was simply a dangerous place for humans. The monkeys of Amei were famous all over the world. Now, that's not called a monkey, it's called King Kong, a giant monkey that was more than 10 meters tall. If anyone dared to come up, they would be crushed in a matter of minutes. If one wasn't a war god realm martial artist, they wouldn't even be able to run. They would be swept away by this group of monkeys. Let's find a place to set up a cave first. Ignoring the group of monkeys, Liu stepped into the Amei precipice and waved his hand on a cliff, releasing a wave of black and yellow chi. As the mysterious yellow surged, a huge cave was opened up in the middle of the cliff. Pill room, quiet room, study bedroom, medicine field, beast pen. In this cave, Liu had set up all kinds of rooms, but they were all empty. I still need to put some things in. With a wave of his hand, pill furnaces, bookshelves, prayer mats, tables, herbs, and some daily necessities appeared in the cave. Put some books in the study. Some messy history of the sect, legends, and miscellaneous things. Liu had obtained this kind of thing countless times since he had transmigrated to several worlds. He casually put it together and created a pile. As for the real inheritance, Liu hung a portrait of the ancestor on the front wall of the quiet room. On the table below, there were 2 3-foot-long swords. As for who the person in the portrait of the ancestor was, cough cough, everyone knew that other than the great hoodwinker Li. Who else could it be? Liu rubbed his head. Could it be that he's called Grand Elder again? The legendary Mount Shu was also related to the Grand Elder. It's normal to hang a portrait of the Grand Patriarch. As for the 2 swords, since they were part of Shu Shan, the Ziying sword and the Qing Suo sword were indispensable. With Liu's current wealth, creating the true Azulet swords was only a matter of minutes. Not bad. These 2 swords are no worse than the real Azulet swords, Jin Shun sighed. After all, the cultivation techniques of this world, when practiced to the end, would form their own universe. If the Azulet twin swords were too weak, they would not be worthy of their name. Turning his head, he swept a glance around the cave residence and found that the layout was more or less done. Liu nodded. With a wave of his hand, the entire cavern seemed to have gone through tens of thousands of years. Everything became old. Now, all that's left is a hot-blooded youth. After sealing the door, Liu's figure flashed and disappeared in an instant. Shishu Base City. This was one of the 5 major base cities in the Divine Land. Before the great change in the world, Western Shu was the most populous place in the country. With Rong City as the central base and 6 surrounding citadels, this huge Shishu Base City was formed. Mei City, the citadel that was the furthest away from the central base and facing the greatest pressure from the mutated beasts, was once again attacked by the mutated beasts. These damned monkeys! Fire god cannons, rocket launchers, electromagnetic cannons, and laser cannons were fired at the giant monkeys in front of them. The electromagnetic cannons and laser cannons were extremely lethal. Even the commander-level mutated beasts could not withstand them. The monkeys' attack was repelled once. Mei City Base was one of the few bases that the mutated beasts dared to attack. This was because the monkeys of Mount Amei were known to be good at robbing. They were already famous before the Great Change in the world. After the Great Change in the world, the monkeys turned into giant King Kong, but they still had the hobby of robbing. After a period of time, the scars had healed and they had forgotten the pain, so they came again. Fortunately, the Beast King level monkeys would not attack human bases. Otherwise, Mei City Base would be in danger. What the hell is going on? Why are they fighting again? In a lower-end apartment in Mei City Base, a young man looked outside the city wall through the glass. When he saw the sky full of artillery fire, he shook his head helplessly. Those damned monkeys are here again. The young man returned to his room and picked up a novel in his hand. The Legend of Mount Shu Swordsman. Nowadays, it's difficult to read a novel even if you want to. This Legend of Mount Shu Swordsman was something that I found with great difficulty from the garbage pile. In the few decades since the great change in the world, the environment of the entire world had undergone a huge change. The survival of humans was in danger, and entertainment was naturally getting fewer and fewer. The young man of Mount Shu, who was born to love reading novels, felt that the days when he could not even read novels were like years. It's said that in the era before the great change in the world, one could read all the novels in the world with a mobile phone. Such beautiful days. Why are they gone forever? The young man shook his head gloomily and continued to flip open the Legend of Mount Shu Swordsman in his hand. I've read this book countless times. Speaking of which, the great change in the world should be the reappearance of the chi of heaven and earth in the world. Thus, wild beasts can turn into demons, and humans can cultivate chi and become martial artists. But, however, after the young man wrote this conclusion into an article and handed it to his teacher, he was ruthlessly crossed out by his teacher. Even the monkeys of Mount have become demons, and they even crossed out me. The young man rubbed his head gloomily. This Legend of Mount Shu Swordsman is already very clear. When the age of chaos came, the Mount Shu sword sect retired. Now that the chi of heaven and earth has reappeared, the Mount Shu sword sect will definitely reappear in the world. In a place where the young man could not see, Liyu's figure floated past. A novel geek? Liyu smiled and nodded. I've read a lot of novels, so naturally I've seen a lot of plots and understood a lot of characters. In fact, young men who like to read novels have rich experience. Although it's the experience from novels, the principle is the same. Since you said that the Mount Shu sword sect will definitely reappear in the world, of course I'll fulfill your wish. With a flick of his finger, Liu activated the purple and green twin swords placed in the cave on Mount Amei. Clang! The sound of the swords soared into the sky. Two streaks of purple and green sword light soared into the sky like swimming dragons. Sword chi soared into the sky. That's when the young man heard the sword whistle and saw the two sword lights that were purple and green like dragons. His body suddenly trembled. The Legend of the Swordsman of Mount Shu in his hand fell to the ground with a plop. Purple and green twin swords? His eyes widened and the young man was dumbfounded. There really is a purple and green twin swords? There really is a Mount Shu swordsman? All of this is actually real? The young man was so excited that his whole body was trembling. Lu Ziqing, must become a sword immortal. I must become a Mount Shu swordsman. Well, the Mount Shu swordsman, Lu Ziqing, was about to be born. Chapter 924. These two sword lights will definitely alarm a lot of people. Lu Ziqing, the young man from Mount Shu, looked up at the purple and green twin swords whistling through the air. He was very anxious. He was just an ordinary high school student. He had no power and his personal strength was low. He was not even a senior student. He was still an intermediate student. Now that the purple and green twin swords had appeared, it would definitely attract the attention of the world. He was just an ordinary person. How could he compete with others? No, I must get the purple and green twin swords before other forces arrive. Lu Ziqing gritted his teeth and rushed to the door. He planned to go to Mount Amei. But with my current strength, I can't go up Mount Amei. An ordinary person who is not even a warrior would be dinner for the exotic beasts once he stepped out of the base city. If he ran over, would he fight for the purple and green twin swords? Or would he become a meal for the exotic beasts of Mount Amei? What should I do? Lu Ziqing was anxious and annoyed. He grabbed his hair with a sad face. I can't go at all. My purple and green twin swords. My Mount Shu swordsman. Suddenly, a light like an electric arc flashed. The blue light illuminated the whole room. That is, Lu Ziqing was shocked to find that this light was actually flashing from the novel Legend of the Mount Shu Swordsman. Legend of the Mount Shu Swordsman? Mount Shu Swordsman. Purple and green twin swords. At this moment, Lu Ziqing's heart suddenly tightened. Could it be this novel is actually related to the Mount Shu Swordsman? Lu Ziqing rushed up and grabbed the Legend of the Mount Shu Swordsman. On the cover of this shabby novel, there was an illustration of the Tai Chi 8 trigrams. At this moment, this Tai Chi 8 trigrams illustration was shining with a blue light. Runes flowed, and the Tai Chi 8 trigrams exploded with a brilliant light. The 8 trigrams were born, and yin and yang flowed. With a buzzing sound, the 8 trigrams suddenly opened up a passage in front of Lu Ziqing, which was flowing with brilliance. Through the brilliance of the passage, he could faintly see that there was an ancient stone room at the other end of the passage. Clang, clang. 2 long swords, one purple and one green, meandered in the stone room like dragons. Azulate swords. When Lu Ziqing saw this situation and combined it with the description in the Legend of Shu Mountain Swordsman, he immediately understood that he was the fated person for the purple and green twin swords. Sure enough, reading novels can bring endless benefits. With a loud laugh, Lu Ziqing hurriedly took a step forward and stepped into the transmission channel. Buzz, the 8 trigrams passageway, shook slightly. As the radiance circulated, Lu Ziqing discovered that he had already arrived at an ancient cave abode. Yuan Cave. On the plaque of the cave residence, there were 3 ancient seal characters. Combined with the Legend of Shu Mountain Swordsman, Lu Ziqing guessed and recognized the 3 characters. Shushan Taiyuan Cave, Righteous Qi of the Universe, Taoist, Master Miaoi. This was Qi Shuming's cave abode. This is the cave abode of the Shu Mountain sect leader. Lu Ziqing was surprised and delighted. He hurriedly bowed in the direction of the plaque. Disciple Lu Ziqing came here by chance. If I am favored by the ancestral master, I will uphold the righteous path of Shu Mountain, subdue demons and devils, and spread the name of Shu Mountain Sword Sect. After reading so many novels, these ancient sayings were also very convincing. I am very pleased that you have such aspirations. In a trance, there seemed to be a voice echoing in the cave abode. With a rumble, the celestial light circulated, and the ancient modeled cave was restored to its original appearance in the radiance of the array. The ground was as white as jade. The walls were shining with golden light, and the stone pillars were coiled with dragons and phoenixes, overflowing with light and color. On the dome of the cave, amidst the clouds lingering, there were huge pearls shining with a bright radiance like bright stars. Sure enough, this is the atmosphere of an immortal. When Lu Ziqing saw the ancient, modeled, and dilapidated stone room transform into the beautiful scenery of an immortal palace in an instant, his heart was filled with shock and admiration. As for doubts, he had never had such thoughts. If one was not an immortal, how could one have a transmission channel? If one was not an immortal, how could one have such a beautiful immortal palace? Thank you for your favor, ancestral master. After bowing respectfully and cautiously, Lu Ziqing stepped into the immortal mansion with excitement in his heart. Stepping on the white, jade-like ground, he walked along the corridor. In a moment, a palace hall appeared in front of Lu Ziqing. Clang, clang. One purple and one green, the 2 sword lights were like wandering dragons, whistling and shuttling in the palace hall. A vast and thin aura spread out, making people feel as if they were facing the deep starry sky. Vast, vast and boundless. More importantly, the incomparably sharp sword Qi seemed to be able to cut the void. The cold chill made people tremble with fear. This is the purple and green twin swords. Looking eagerly at the 2 sword lights whistling in the air, Lu Ziqing was so excited that his whole body trembled. Shu Mountain Swordsman, purple and green twin swords. I finally see the power that I've been dreaming of. But he could no longer take another step forward. The vast and boundless power and the incomparably sharp sword chi. Knowing the terror of the purple and green twin swords, Lu Ziqing naturally did not dare to take half a step into the palace hall. Who knew if the purple and green twin swords would recognize him? A disciple of Shu Mountain who had not yet entered the sect. If he walked in and was killed by the purple and green twin swords, he would have nowhere to cry. Disciple Lu Ziqing is here to pay respects to the ancestral master. I hope that the ancestral master will grant me permission. Since he had heard the voice of "I am very comforted" before, he would pay his respects first. Lu Ziqing had read many novels, and he had read the legend of Shu Mountain swordsmen. He knew that this kind of righteous sect was most particular about rules. Disrespecting the ancestral master was a serious crime. Immediately, Lu Ziqing knelt down in front of the palace door respectfully and kowtowed 3 times to the door. Clang! Clang! 2 sword sounds rang out, and the majestic power and sharp sword chi in the palace hall suddenly disappeared. Sure enough, you can't enter without kowtowing. Seeing the purple and green twin swords retract their sword chi, Lu Ziqing knew that he had done the right thing. Thank you for your grace, ancestral master. After thanking him again, Lu Ziqing got up, walked into the palace door, and stepped into the palace. On the wall in the middle of the hall, there was a painting scroll hanging. Under the painting, there was a table. 2 long swords, one purple and one green, were quietly placed on the table. That painting. Looking up at the painting scroll, in the painting a green ox stepped on purple clouds and walked in the air. On the back of the green ox sat a white-clothed youth. White-clothed youth. Lu Ziqing was dumbfounded. The Shu Mountain sword sect was passed down from the Grand Ancestral Master. But shouldn't the Grand Ancestral Master be an old man in Taoist robes? Why do he look like a white-clothed youth? This is the Shu Mountain Tai Yuan Cave. The inheritance scroll of the Shu Mountain sect naturally can't be wrong. Then, the Grand Ancestral Master portraits circulating in the world must be false. As if he had discovered the truth, Lu Ziqing took a deep breath and bowed respectfully in front of the portrait. Disciple Lu Ziqing pays his respects to the Grand Ancestral Master. When the fake is real, the real is fake. Presumably, in this universe, the true appearance of the Grand Ancestral Master would become the white-clothed youth in the future, right? Liu said that since there was no Grand Ancestral Master in this world, he could play as he pleased. Chapter 925. When Lu Ziqing kowtowed respectfully in front of the portrait, the painting burst out with brilliance. At the beginning of primordial chaos, Tao is the priority. Purple Qi comes from the east for 30,000 miles. Han Pass has been here for 5,000 years. Vast and mighty purple Qi surged. In a trance, Lu Ziqing saw a young man in white riding a green ox in the endless purple Qi. He stepped on the purple Qi all the way through the void, the galaxy, and the endless void. Ancestral Master. Seeing this scene, Lu Ziqing's body trembled, and he hurriedly shouted. After hundreds of millions of years in this primeval universe, you still have the fate to step into the Tao sect. You could be considered to be very lucky. After hearing Lu Ziqing's call, the figure riding the bull into the endless void turned around and glanced at Lu Ziqing before nodding with a smile. Although the Shu Mountain sect was created by Ai's nominal disciple, it can be considered as Ai's sect. Well, since you have this opportunity, I will give you a good fortune. With a wave of his hand, the white-robed figure shot a ray of brilliance at Lu Ziqing. In this ray of brilliance, a small purple gold gourd flew out and fell between Lu Ziqing's eyebrows. Boom! Lu Ziqing's mind suddenly shook. A brilliant and mysterious purple gold gourd appeared in Lu Ziqing's sea of consciousness. Black and white intertwined brilliance flowed endlessly at the mouth of the gourd. Purple gold gourd? The ancestral master's personal treasure? Lu Ziqing was stunned by this sudden surprise. Oh my God! This was the ancestral master's personal treasure. With this shock, Lu Ziqing also woke up from the scene of purple qi all over the sky. In front of him was the same hall and the same painting. The scene of purple qi all over the sky had disappeared. Presumably, it was just a trace of the ancestral master's divine sense. After calming down, Lu Ziqing bowed to the portrait of the ancestral master again. "Thank you for your grace, ancestral master. Disciple Lu Ziqing will not disappoint the ancestral master." Clang! After this bow, the purple and green dual swords on the table suddenly burst out a sword whistle and flew out, whistling toward Lu Ziqing. Lu Ziqing, who had just raised his head, was stunned when he saw the two sword lights whistling towards him. In an instant, he was hit by the two sword lights. Ancestral Master just bestowed a treasure. What? Lu Ziqing was shocked. He thought that the purple and green twin swords were here to kill him. After being stunned for a while, he realized that he wasn't injured at all. So the azulate swords have chosen a master. Lu Ziqing laughed involuntarily. Boom! Just as a smile appeared on his face, his body suddenly erupted like a volcano, and two unimaginably huge forces rushed out. One purple and one green, one yin and one yang. The two sword qis intertwined and roared within Lu Ziqing's body. It was as if every cell in his body had been cut into pieces by this sword qi. Lu Ziqing screamed crazily in pain, looking up to the sky. Destruction, rebirth. Destroyed again, reborn again. Remove the impurities, purify the origin, and reconstruct the body. This intense pain caused Lu Ziqing's vision to turn black as he fell to the ground. When Lu Ziqing woke up again, he realized that his entire body seemed to have changed into a different person. A strong body, mighty strength, and a thick layer of filth all over his body. So it's a rebirth, but that's too painful. Recalling the intense pain from before, Lu Ziqing shuddered all over. He was still trembling even now. With my current strength, I should have reached the level of a martial artist. After moving his hands and feet, Lu Ziqing realized that his current physical strength was several times stronger than before. He had completely reached the level of a martial artist. A 16-year-old martial artist, if word got out, it would scare a lot of people. Lu Ziqing chuckled. In this era, the treatment of martial artists is very high. After I go back, I don't have to live in a cheap rental house anymore. After laughing for a while, Lu Ziqing's body froze again. He was smelled by his own stench. My body stinks too much. The filth all over his body emitted a foul stench, causing Lu Ziqing to frown. He almost fainted from his stench. Immortals are clean and untainted. It's hard to say if there's a place to bathe in this cave. Turning his head to look around, there was nothing else in this hall. Obviously, he had already obtained the inheritance, and there were no other treasures. Let's look around and see if there's a place to bathe. Walking out of the hall, Lu Ziqing searched around the immortal abode. He found a study room, the pill room, the beast pen, and the herb field. However, there was nothing useful in these places. Fortunately, there's a spring here in the herb field. Seeing this spring with a radius of about 10 feet, Lu Ziqing was overjoyed. He quickly jumped into the spring and carefully washed the filth on his body. After Lu Ziqing finished washing, the entire spring had turned into ink. How dirty is this? Smiling bitterly and shaking his head, Lu Ziqing was about to leave the spring when his body suddenly trembled. His face was filled with regret. This is the spring of the immortal abode. This must be the spirit spring. I washed it like this. Fortunately, the pitch-black sewage in the spring quickly disappeared. Is this really the spirit spring? Lu Ziqing touched his head. He was also a little confused about whether this spring was really the spirit spring. Moreover, he really couldn't muster up the courage to drink his own bath water. Forget it. Let's not worry about this first. On the stone platform near the spring, Lu Ziqing sat down cross-legged and began to organize the Mount Shu sword faction inheritance that he had obtained. Purple and green treasure tome. Seeing this scripture, Lu Ziqing trembled with excitement. This was the true Tao of Mount Shu, the great Tao of Jin Dan, the true method of becoming an immortal. In addition to the great Tao of Jin Dan, the purple and green treasure tome also contained various supernatural powers and secret techniques, including the Mount Shu sword manipulation technique. Good, good. Now, I'm a real Mount Shu swordsman. Seeing these supernatural powers and spells, Lu Ziqing was so excited that he danced with joy. From now on, I can fly with my sword and roam the world. Let's start with qi cultivation. Lu Ziqing calmed down and sat cross-legged on the ground. According to the qi cultivation method in the purple and green treasure tome in his mind, he began his first cultivation. According to martial artists, this is absorbing the energy of the universe to increase the genetic elemental energy. There is only one way to cultivate the genetic elemental energy in the world, and that is the 5 hearts to heaven qi cultivation technique. Thinking of this, Lu Ziqing laughed. What energy of the universe, what genetic elemental energy, isn't it just qi cultivation? Compared to my qi refinement method, the 5 hearts towards the heavens is far inferior. Adjusting his breath and calming his heart, Lu Ziqing adjusted his body and mind according to the qi cultivation technique in the purple and green treasure tome. He relaxed his mind and breathed in the qi of heaven and earth. After calming his heart and entering meditation, Lu Ziqing felt a cool and refreshing aura permeating between heaven and earth. As he breathed in and out, the pores all over his body opened and closed, and his entire body was breathing in the qi of heaven and earth. It was like rain falling on the earth after a long drought. This cool and refreshing energy entered his body. Every cell was vibrating, trembling, and growing rapidly. His strength was growing, his physique was growing, and everything was growing. Chapter 926. Bang, bang, bang. Punches and kicks were exchanged as his figure moved. Every punch and kick caused a burst of turbulent wind. Phew! Exhaling a mouthful of turbid air, Lu Ziqing stopped his cultivation. It's been 3 days. It's time to go back. After receiving the inheritance, Lu Ziqing cultivated in the cave for 3 days. He had already reached the initial stage of qi cultivation, and his strength had increased tremendously. Now it was time to go back. But how do I go back? The exit of the cave was on the cliff. With Lu Ziqing's current realm, he could not control the purple and green dual swords. He could not fly on the swords. Going out of the cave could only be suicide by jumping off the cliff. In the past 3 days, Lu Ziqing also discovered that no forces had come to the cave to investigate. At that time, the scene of sword qi soaring into the sky did not seem to alarm anyone. Sure enough, only fated people can see it. Lu Ziqing was very glad. Fortunately, he liked to read novels. Fortunately, he had the legend of Shu Mountain Swordsman in his hand. Otherwise, such a peerless opportunity would not be fated to see it. Coming to the cave is through the teleportation array in the book. Leaving must also require a teleportation array. But where is the teleportation array? In the past 3 days, Lu Ziqing had also walked around this huge cave, but he had never found any place that looked like a teleportation array. TSK. One idiot. Suddenly, in Lu Ziqing's mind, there was a mocking sound. Who is it? Lu Ziqing was shocked and screamed. In the entire cave, there was no one else except himself. Even if he had heard the voice of the founder, it was not like this at all. Now, where did this voice come from? Could it be that an outsider had sneaked into the cave? This was impossible, right? What are you looking for? Am I not in your mind? Mind! Lu Ziqing was stunned. With a thought, the scene in his mind appeared. It was a purple gold gourd. So that's it. The founder's purple gold gourd had a spirit with spiritual intelligence. That was too normal. I don't know why the founder took a fancy to you and even gave me to you. Brat, you have to work hard. Don't lose face for me. The purple gold gourd shook and snorted. Otherwise, I will abandon you and follow the master, even if I'm punished by the master. Yes, disciple will definitely not disappoint ancestral master. I definitely won't embarrass you. Lu Ziqing hurriedly answered respectfully. Yes, you're quite sensible, kid. The purple golden gourd nodded. I was sent down to the mortal world by Master. He ordered me to assist you, but I can't help you directly. Therefore, in the future, you will have to do things like fighting by yourself. As for other small matters, with my ability, there is nothing I can't do in a place like the mortal world. Then please take care of me from now on, Senior Zijin. With such a big shot by his side, he was just like the accompanying grandfather in the novels. Although they couldn't directly help with the fighting, they could still get pointers on many things. I will naturally take care of you. The purple gold gourd smiled. Don't you want to go back? I will send you back. From now on, as long as you have been to a place in the mortal world once, or have an accurate location, I can directly teleport you there. Then I will have to trouble you. A purple light flashed slightly, and Lu Ziqing instantly disappeared and returned to the low-rent apartment. TSK. What kind of broken place is this? It's dirty, messy, and narrow. You live here? Lu Ziqing had just returned to the low-rent apartment when he heard the purple gold gourd's ridicule. Well, Lu Ziqing smiled embarrassedly. How clean do you think a single otaku's room can be? As for the narrow space, the base city had limited space. Living in a low-rent apartment like him was considered good. Some families squeezed into a two-room apartment that was less than 30 square meters. I should be a martial artist now. As long as I pass the martial artist assessment, I can get a villa. It's much bigger than this place. Martial artists were the strongest force against the exotic beasts. In order to stimulate people's determination to practice martial arts, martial artists were treated very well. Once you became a martial artist, you would have a meteoric rise and stand out among your peers. Rich material conditions and a superior social status made people yearn for the martial artist profession. The practice of martial arts was deeply rooted in people's hearts. However, among billions of people, there were still too few who could become a martial artist. Take Lu Ziqing's school as an example. Among all the high school students, only 1 or 2 out of 10 could enter a university. In terms of martial arts cultivation, only 1 out of 1,000 could obtain the title of advanced student. To become a martial artist, was there anyone who could become a martial artist before the age of 20? For a high school student like Lu Ziqing to be able to become an intermediate student was already considered a martial arts genius. This was also related to Lu Ziqing's family background. His parents both worked in the army. A few years ago, when they resisted the attack of the monkeys from Mount Amei, they died together. However, under his father's strict guidance for many years, Lu Ziqing's foundation in martial arts was still quite solid. This was also the reason why he could live in a low-rent apartment alone. The family of a martyr naturally had preferential treatment, but compared to the treatment of a martial artist, it was a far cry. I should go out and test my strength. After changing his clothes, Lu Ziqing walked out of the house and rushed to the martial arts school in May City. In this world, there were 2 major martial arts schools all over the world. One was the Extreme Martial Arts School, and the other was the Thunder Martial Arts School. These 2 martial arts schools were founded by the world's number 1, Hong, and the world's number 2, Thunder God. These 2 martial arts schools, in addition to opening the door of martial arts, naturally also had the function of recruiting talents from all over the world. Even if the countries in the world had some ideas about this, but power was everything. No one could ignore the strength of the world's number 1 and the world's number 2. Actually, in May City, there's another place that can also test one's strength and promote one to a martial artist, and that is the army. Unfortunately, Lu Ziqing did not want to join the army. Military orders were like mountains. If he said he could not retreat, then he could not retreat. If he said he would fight to the death, then he must fight to the death. This group of people was very noble. In order to protect the base city, protect the people, they had paid countless sacrifices. However, Lu Ziqing's situation was different. As long as he was given time, he would definitely be able to grow to an extremely strong level. If he joined the army, what if, when he was not strong enough and received a mission to die, would he listen to orders? Of course, The more important reason was that if the higher-ups asked him to make the Shu Mountain inheritance public, would he betray his master and ancestors? Or would he betray his country? In order to avoid such a dilemma, Lu Ziqing did not plan to join the army. Kid, your current strength is still too weak. If you join the army now, you will be cannon fodder. It is indeed not suitable for you. Go to the martial arts school. Being a free martial artist is good for your early development. Purple Gold Gourd, this big liar, naturally hoped that Lu Ziqing would go to the end of the world alone. After all, it was easier to fool Lu Ziqing, who was isolated and helpless. Chapter 9:27. Thunder Dojo. Lu Ziqing walked down the street and arrived at the Thunder Dojo. The Extreme Dojo was created by the world's #1, and the Thunder Dojo was created by the world's #2. In Lu Ziqing's heart, he was more inclined towards the world's #1. After all, this name was too famous. Hong trains with spears, and Thunder God trains with swords, although both have little to do with the Shushan sword technique. However, the relationship between swords and sabers is closer. After weighing the pros and cons, Lu Ziqing finally chose the Thunder Dojo. The Thunder Dojo, in a frontline base like Mei City, still had a huge piece of land. It was not much worse than Lu Ziqing's school. A towering Chinese-style gate with the words Thunder Dojo shone brightly under the sun. Walking through the gate, he was greeted by a huge silver-white building that had a metallic luster. This was the teaching building of the Thunder Dojo. The building had a total of 18 floors, and each floor had a hall that could accommodate thousands of people for collective teaching. In addition, there was a huge martial arts hall on each floor. In the martial arts hall, there were all kinds of training equipment, and at the same time, there were also equipment used to test the strength of warriors. Lu Ziqing had the title of intermediate student. With his ID card, he could directly enter the intermediate student area on the 3rd floor and above. After taking the elevator to the 4th floor, Lu Ziqing used his ID card to open the door and entered the martial arts hall on the 4th floor. At this moment, in the martial arts hall on the 4th floor, there was a group of students in training clothes. They were training under the guidance of an instructor. Instructor, I want to test my strength. Passing his ID card to an instructor in the martial arts hall, Lu Ziqing explained his purpose. This instructor, who was missing an arm and had a face full of whiskers, took Lu Ziqing's ID card, swiped it on the computer, and read Lu Ziqing's identity information. 16 years old? Intermediate student? Not bad, you're a good seedling. The bearded instructor smiled, extended his arm, and pointed to the testing equipment on the left side of the martial arts hall. That's the strength testing machine. Behind it is the speed testing machine and the nerve reaction testing machine. You can test it yourself. I hope you get good results. Thank you, instructor. Lu Ziqing took the ID card, turned around, and walked to the strength testing machine. He swiped his ID card on the machine's card reader and recorded his identity information. I wonder how strong I am now. Standing in front of the dynamometer, Lu Ziqing took a deep breath and clenched his fist. Hey! Exhaling, his spine was as taut as a bowstring. He stomped his feet, twisted his waist, and punched out with his right fist like a cannonball. Boom! With a loud bang, the strength testing machine's punching target shook violently. Beep! Beep! D! After this punch, not only did the strength testing machine not show any results, but also let out an alarm. Barbarian Lu, have you gone crazy again? When the alarm went off, an angry roar came from the office on the 4th floor. Are you crazy? Go to the warrior area on the 7th floor. Why are you hitting the targets in the intermediate student area? F***CK. It wasn't me. Pockmark Wong, come quickly. What the F***CK? At this time, the one-armed bearded man called Barbarian Lu opened his eyes wide and stared at Lu Ziqing in shock. As for the students who were training, they were all dumbfounded. The alarm went off? It exceeded the strength testing machine's limit? That's impossible. The strength testing machine in the intermediate student area has a limit of 1,000 kilograms. 1,000 kilograms. That's the level of a warrior. Could it be that the strength testing machine is broken? Everyone looked at Lu Ziqing in front of the machine. They could not believe that this 16-year-old boy could hit 1,000 kilograms of force. 1,000 kilograms of force. That was the level of a warrior. If it wasn't you, who else could it be? In the office, a pockmarked Wong, with a few spots on his face, ran out angrily. Seeing Lu Ziqing in front of the machine, pockmarked Wong was stunned. He turned to Barbarian Lu. "Don't tell me it was him. He's the one who did it. We all saw it." Barbarian Lu waved his only arm and pointed at all the students. All the students nodded in unison. "It can't be?" Pockmarked Wong blinked and looked at Lu Ziqing for a while. One punch with more than 1,000 kilograms of force? He's only 16 or 17, right? There's such a thing? Go upstairs. Go upstairs. Test it in the warrior area. Barbarian Lu stretched out his only arm and pulled Lu Ziqing over. "Let's go, kid. Go upstairs and test it. Let's see how good you are." "Teacher, are we still going to class?" The rest of the students looked at each other. "Practice on your own." Pockmarked Wong roared and chased after them. The three of them took the elevator to the 7th floor. Weren't the two of you in class? Why? Did you skip class? If the curator finds out, you'll suffer. When they entered the 7th floor, a young woman in white training clothes turned to see the three of them. She smiled and shook her head. "Bailey, this kid just destroyed the strength testing machine downstairs. We wanted to bring him here to see if he's really that good." Pockmarked Wong explained to the young woman. "Destroyed the strength testing machine? Him?" The girl named Bailey was stunned. She turned to look at Lu Ziqing and shook her head. "He's only 16 or 17, right? Since when have we heard of a martial artist under 20? Your strength testing machine must be broken." Barbarian Lu, did you break it because your hand were itchy? Hee, your salary for this month is gone. Don't talk nonsense. Barbarian Lu glared at Bailey. "All right, we're just here to borrow your strength testing machine." "All right, use it if you want." Bailey waved her hand as if to say, "Do whatever you want. Let's go." "Kid, try it again." They brought Lu Ziqing to the strength testing machine in the warrior area. Barbarian Lu and Pockmarked Wong looked at Lu Ziqing hopefully and gestured with their hands. "This place won't be damaged, right?" Lu Ziqing took out his ID card and scanned it on the machine. He asked worriedly, "This machine has an upper limit of 100 tons. You can hit it however you want." Pockmarked Wong smiled and nodded. "All right." Lu Ziqing stood in front of the machine and took a deep breath. He took a step forward, raised his right fist, and smashed it down. Bam! With a loud bang, the strength testing machine's punching target shook violently again. This time, there was no alarm. On the screen above the machine, a line of numbers appeared. F***CK, 5,600 kilograms. It's true, 5,600 kilograms. Barbarian Lu and Pockmarked Wong were stunned when they saw the numbers on the machine. They could not believe it. 5,600 kilograms? He's already an advanced martial artist. He's not far away from the general level. Bailey screamed and ran over. She glanced at Lu Ziqing's body and saw the information displayed on the strength tester. She was stunned. 16 years old? 5,600 kilograms of punching strength? Ha! We found a treasure. Pockmarked Wong and Barbarian Lu looked at each other and laughed in surprise. Chapter 928. I'm that powerful. Seeing the shocked and ecstatic gazes of the few instructors, Lu Ziqing suddenly felt high-spirited and proud of himself. You're so proud of yourself with just a mere 10,000 pounds of strength? The purple gold gourd sneered. This little bit of strength is so weak that it's unbearable to look at. Even my master's mount, that bull, can crush your earth with just one hoof. Can I be compared to those mythical figures? It's not strange for the Grand Supreme Elderly Lord's green bull to crush the earth, right? It would be strange if it didn't crush the earth, right? Why can't you compare? You have to understand that you're my master's only disciple in the mortal world. You have me by your side to guide you. You'll be invincible in the mortal world, that's for sure. If you don't even have this ability, how can you live up to my master's teachings? In his mind, the purple gold gourd scolded Lu Ziqing fiercely, leaving him stunned. Only by crushing the earth can I be invincible? Lu Ziqing's jaw dropped. Even the earth could be crushed. How powerful would that be? Crushing the earth is nothing. Destroying the stars with one slap. That's what it means to be invincible. The purple gold gourd roared again. Lu Ziqing was scared out of his wits. Oh my God, destroying the stars with one slap. That's destroying the universe? How many galaxies are there in the universe? How many galaxies are there? How many galaxies are there? Annihilating the stars in the sky with a single slap. Just how powerful was that? Is that still human? Well, that's no longer human. That's a celestial being. Isn't there a celestial being by my side? Or a celestial artifact? I'm a primordial treasure. Celestial artifacts are nothing. I could destroy countless celestial artifacts with one breath. The furious roar shocked Lu Ziqing again. The purple gold gourd was indeed the Grand Supreme Elderly Lord's personal treasure. It was too terrifying. Lu Ziqing. Lu Ziqing. Lu Ziqing's body shook, and he came back to his senses. He realized that he was being shaken by the one-armed barbarian Lu. What's wrong? Lu Ziqing was stunned. Haha, this kid is too happy. The three teachers burst into laughter again. No wonder he's so happy. We're also so happy. At the age of 16, he already has the strength of a senior martial warrior. This is simply shocking. Bailey smiled and pointed at the instrument behind the strength tester. There's still speed and reflexes to test. Hurry up and go test them. Oh, okay. The martial artist test was not only a test of strength, but also a test of speed and reaction. Arriving near the speed tester, Lu Ziqing swiped his ID card and entered his information. The speed tester was a racetrack that measured the speed with infrared rays. A 200-meter-long runway. Let's start. When he reached the starting line, Lu Ziqing took a deep breath. With a stomp of his feet, his figure rushed up, bringing with it the sound of the wind as he sprinted. Speed, 81 meters per second. He's also a high-level warrior. Seeing this result, the three instructors cried out in surprise. Good heavens! What is a genius? This is a genius. Barbarian Lu raised his only arm, patted heavily on Lu Ziqing's shoulder, and grinned. There's also a reaction test. Hurry up and give it a try. After the speed test, the three of them brought Lu Ziqing to the nerve reaction tester. This was a 5-meter-wide metal room. There were rows of holes around the room, and these holes were filled with softballs. The test begins. Bailey greeted him and reached out to press the switch. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. From the holes in the four walls, softballs shot out rapidly like bullets, flying towards Lu Ziqing at high speed. The so-called nerve reaction meant that he had to dodge. Dodge, dodge, dodge. The dense cluster of softballs shot out rapidly. Lu Ziqing was highly focused, and his figure kept moving and dodging, avoiding these flying softballs. However, there were too many softballs. They were too dense. Even though Lu Ziqing tried his best to dodge, he was still hit by some softballs. Looks like I won't be able to pass the dodge test. After the test ended, Lu Ziqing walked out of the room dejectedly. F***CK. This result, it's scary. His nerve reaction is so strong. He's only one step away from the general level. Genius. When I was his age, I wasn't even an advanced student. Just as he walked out of the room, Lu Ziqing saw the three instructors surrounding him. Lu Ziqing, there's no record of you joining a dojo in your information. How about you join the Thunder Dojo? Yes. Yes. Thunder Dojo treats you well. Pockmarked Wong and Barbarian Lu surrounded him, their mouths talking nonstop. Inform the curator. Can you make the decision? Bailey shouted, picked up the phone, and dialed the curator's number. Curator, come quickly. We found a genius in the 7th floor's training field. A real genius. The elevator arrived in an instant. A bald man in a black robe with a scar on his face rushed out of the elevator like a gust of wind. In the blink of an eye, he crossed a few hundred meters and appeared in front of everyone. This speed, this is the power of a war god. right? Crossing a few hundred meters in an instant. Only a war god could have such speed. Lu Ziqing's eyes were filled with eagerness. It'll be great if I can reach this level too. You call this speed? Have you heard of shrinking the ground into an inch? So close yet so far? You've heard of traveling 108,000 miles in a somersault, right? Even if it's you, you'll be more than 100 times stronger than him when you master the sword evasion technique. All right, the curator whom Lu Ziqing admired just now was nothing in Lu Ziqing's heart. This is the little guy? The curator glanced at Lu Ziqing, smiled, and nodded. He reached out and took the result data from Bai Li. What? 16 years old? Advanced martial artist? The curator was so shocked that he almost dropped the result report. I can't make the decision. I have to inform the patrol inspector. As he spoke, the curator took out his phone and dialed a number. Uncle Yang, I'm Jiang Wu. Our May City dojo found a genius. He's 16 years old and has the power of an advanced martial artist. What? 16 years old? Advanced martial artist? Send his information over. That Uncle Yang was originally indifferent, but when he heard this, he suddenly exclaimed, All right, I'll send it over right away. The curator pressed a few buttons on his phone and sent Lu Ziqing's test information over. Strength over 5,000 kilograms? Speed over 80 meters per second? Nerve reaction close to a warlord? That's great. Jiang Wu, you've done a great job. The patrol inspector laughed. Let this young man join our Thunder Dojo. These are the conditions we've set. We can still discuss if there are any problems. As he spoke, the patrol inspector sent over a document. A villa, 200 million in startup funds. Weapons and equipment up to 200 million. The first 3 stages of a 9-fold Thunderblade secret manual. F*CK. When the curator read out these conditions, the 3 instructors exclaimed, Forget about the villa and funds. Even if they gave more money, it would be normal treatment. But what was the 9-fold Thunderblade? That was the secret technique of the second most powerful person in the world, the curator of Thunder Dojo, the god of thunder. The treatment is all right. Lu Ziqing smiled. He was more concerned about the villa and money. 9-fold Thunderblade? Could it compare to Shu mountain swordsmanship? Obtaining the identity of a martial artist was already considered outstanding. Chapter 929. The villa and startup funds have been transferred to your name. After signing adjoining the Thunder Dojo agreement in Curator Jiang Wu's office, Jiang Wu transferred the villa and funds to Lu Ziqing's name. The martial arts and equipment will only be officially distributed after you complete the martial artist trial. However, your startup funds are already enough to buy some initial equipment. With your strength, completing the martial artist trial won't be difficult. Jiang Wu smiled and nodded at Lu Ziqing. In fact, if you can unleash your true strength, the martial artist trial will be very easy. However, you haven't seen blood and have never fought a life and death battle before. You can't be careless. Thank you for your guidance. Lu Ziqing thanked him seriously. The curator's words were indeed priceless. His strength wasn't weak. What he lacked was combat experience and experience in life and death battles. If he was frightened by the bloody and ferocious situation in battle, he wouldn't be able to unleash much of his strength. It'll be the end of the month in 3 days. This month's martial artist trial will be held at that time. You can report to the Thunder Dojo then. Saying that, the curator handed over a badge with a thunderbolt pattern. This is our Thunder Dojo's emblem. Wear it and you'll be a member of our Thunder Dojo from now on. Wherever the thunderbolt is, we'll be invincible. Putting the Thunder badge on Lu Ziqing's chest, Curator Jiang Wu stood up straight with a serious face and shouted out a slogan. This is the spirit of our Thunder Dojo. Fight on the front lines. Fight in the most difficult places. Fight in all the places that we need to protect. We will be invincible. Wherever the thunderbolt is, we'll be invincible. Lu Ziqing also replied loudly. In this world, regardless of whether it was the dojo, the army, or other organizations, Their purpose was to defeat the exotic beasts and protect the survival of mankind. Although there were competitions and even conflicts between the various organizations and groups. However, regardless of the organization or group, their fundamental goal was the same. This was the reason why Lu Ziqing joined the Thunder Dojo without worry. After all, Lu Ziqing was born into a military family. Even if he couldn't join the army for some reason, he wouldn't be willing to stand against the army. It's time to take a look at my villa. After living in a low-rent apartment for so many years, Lu Ziqing finally had his own house. After leaving the Thunder Dojo, Lu Ziqing returned to his low-rent apartment. Although he didn't have anything valuable at home, he had to take some treasures like his parents' belongings. Ziqing, you didn't go to school today? You're so young. Why aren't you studying? As he walked into the apartment, Annie Wang's neighbor, Annie, seeing Lu Ziqing walk up, Annie Wang stopped him. Ziqing, your parents passed away early. Annie watched you grow up. You're just like my own child. Come. Then you should hurry back to school. Auntie Wang blocked Lu Ziqing at the staircase and refused to let her in. Annie. Thunder emblem. Martial artist? Annie Wang was shocked when she saw the thunder badge on Lu Ziqing's chest. Her jaw dropped. Oh my God, Ziqing, you're still so young and you're already a martial artist? You've grown up. Auntie, thank you for your care all these years. Lu Ziqing took out his phone and tapped on it for a while before smiling. Auntie, this is a token of my appreciation. D. At this moment, Annie Wang's phone rang. She took out her phone. Mr. Lu Ziqing has transferred 2 million Chinese dollars to you. Ziqing, you 2 million? Annie Wang had never seen so much money in her life. Annie Wang's hands trembled when she saw the message. Annie, you've taken care of me all these years. This is a token of my appreciation. Please don't reject it. After his parents passed away, Lu Ziqing was often taken care of by Annie Wang. Now that he's rich, he naturally has to repay her kindness. Good boy. Good boy. Annie Wang wiped the corner of her eyes. Her voice was a little choked. Ziqing, you've grown up. Your parents would be very happy if they knew about this in the underworld. Annie, I'll go up first. After bidding farewell to Annie Wang, Lu Ziqing returned home. He kept some important things into the purple gold gourd. Looking at his old nest, he felt a wave of emotions. Becoming a martial artist was indeed a meteoric rise. One could stand out among their peers. Old Lu's child is already a martial artist. Really? Lu Ziqing is a martial artist? That child, Ziqing, has been extraordinary since he was young. Look, he's really grown up. When Lu Ziqing walked down the stairs, he saw his neighbors coming out of their houses one by one. They looked at Lu Ziqing and praised him. At this moment, they forgot about Lu Ziqing's mischievous past. They only saw the brilliant young genius in front of them. Uncles and aunties, I've moved to Linjiang District. From now on, if anyone needs anything, just give me a call. After bidding farewell to his neighbors, Lu Ziqing walked out of the lower-end apartment and arrived at the martial artist villa area of Thunder Dojo. At the entrance of Linjiang District, a row of armed soldiers guarded the entrance. Stop! Just as Lu Ziqing walked to the entrance, he was stopped by the soldiers. My name is Lu Ziqing. I'm a new martial artist. Lu Ziqing quickly took out his identity card and handed it to the soldiers. 16 years old? Martial artist? After swiping his ID card, the soldiers guarding Linjiang community were stunned when they saw the information displayed on the screen. This way, please. This way, please. After coming back to his senses, the soldiers quickly opened the door. Thank you. After taking back his identity card, Lu Ziqing officially stepped into the martial artist district. According to the information given by Thunder Dojo, Lu Ziqing quickly found his new home. It was a 3-story villa with a garden. Around the villa, there was a small stream, a small bridge, and a rockery pond. It was magnificent. Living alone in such a big house, it's so empty. After swiping his identity card and opening the door, Lu Ziqing walked into the villa. Seeing the beautifully decorated rooms, Lu Ziqing suddenly felt a sense of emptiness. A few days ago, he was still an otaku reading novels in a cramped low-rent apartment. In the blink of an eye, he had become a martial artist that everyone envied. Indeed, one shouldn't bully a poor youth. Kid, glory and wealth are like fleeting clouds. Only your own strength is your foundation. Don't be complacent when you're young. Don't be blinded by glory and wealth. You just started. The purple gold gourd reminded him in a timely manner. I understand. Strength was everything. Only by constantly improving himself could he walk to the unreachable peak. Chapter 9:30. Teacher Liu, where's the warrior trial location this time? 3 days later, Liu Ziqing boarded an armored vehicle heading out of Mei City base under the guidance of Liu Manzi, an instructor from Thunder Dojo. The warrior trial in Mei City base is actually a small town surrounded by an iron cage. Liu Manzi smiled at Liu Ziqing. It was originally a small town near Mei City. I don't know what it used to be called. At this point, Barbarian Liu's face turned serious. Although the mutated beasts released during the warrior trial are the lowest level mutated beasts with strength equivalent to that of a beginner martialist, you can't be careless. Yes, I'll be careful. Liu Ziqing knew that his lack of combat experience was his weakness. Soon after, the armored vehicle arrived at a dilapidated small town. It was surrounded by thick metal walls. There were also some soldiers guarding the entrance of the small town. When Liu Ziqing walked out of the armored vehicle, he saw that there were already many people at the entrance of the small town. Hundreds of men and women gathered at the entrance of the small town. Obviously, these people were also here to participate in the warrior trial. This is your first battle with exotic beasts. Remember, exotic beasts are the enemies of us humans. Either it dies or you die. At the entrance of a small town, a burly middle-aged man stood at the entrance and gave a final reminder to everyone who was about to participate in the warrior trial. Every martial artist is a valuable asset to us humans. Without the protection of warriors, there will be no future for humans to survive and reproduce. However, warriors are also the profession with the highest casualty rate. It's even higher than the military, because warriors go deep into the base and fight in the wilderness where exotic beasts wreak havoc. You're alone and helpless. You only see enemies in front of you. Today's trial is to let you know that. Martial artists were not created through training, but through killing. Only by fighting to the death can you survive. Only then can you survive. The exotic beast you put in here won't exceed your strength. However, if you're careless, if you don't have the determination to die, you will die. The trial begins. The door of the small town slowly opened. Liu Ziqing and a group of warriors who were participating in the trial stepped into the abandoned town together. It's my first time fighting an exotic beast. I'm still a little nervous. Stepping into the dilapidated town, Liu Ziqing took a deep breath when he saw the overgrown weeds that made the town look like a wilderness. The first battle is a very important hurdle for anyone. The purple gold gourd said with a smile. In the first battle, most people are unable to unleash their full power. Therefore, you must take it seriously. I know. Liu Ziqing held a long sword in his hand and carefully walked into the trial town. This sword was obviously not one of the twin swords. With Liu Ziqing's current strength, he was unable to use the twin swords. Liu Ziqing had bought this sword from the Thunder Dojo with his initial funds. Oomph, oomph. From the weeds in front of him, a series of humming sounds could be heard. A pig that was more than 3 meters long and 1.5 meters tall, with black scales all over its body, appeared in front of Liu Ziqing. Black armored boar. This was a common low-level exotic beast. After the cataclysm, pigs, horses, cows, sheep, chickens, ducks, dogs, and cats are the most populous exotic beast species in the world. The first battle is about to begin. Liu Ziqing's heart thumped uncontrollably. No matter how strong he was, no matter how profound his inheritance was, the first battle was always nerve-wracking. Pa! Liu Ziqing, who was slowly approaching the black armored boar, unintentionally stepped on a withered branch. Roar! exotic beasts were very sensitive. Hearing this sound, the black armored boar instantly discovered Lu Ziqing. With a wild roar, the black armored boar charged forward with a rumble. His 3-meter-long body was like an armored vehicle, and he crashed into Lu Ziqing fiercely. The two fangs protruding from the corner of the black armored boar's mouth were like sharp blades, shining with a cold white light. Ferocious, ruthless, and powerful. "Kill!" Lu Ziqing roared. With a stomp, his body leaped up. The long sword in his hand faced the black armored boar and slashed down heavily. Pooh! Blood splattered as the sword beheaded the black armored boar. This black armored boar was beheaded by Lu Ziqing from the back of its neck. You can't even withstand a single blow. Lu Ziqing stood with his hand on his sword. His heart was filled with lofty aspirations to kill in all directions. Unsightly. The purple gold gourd roared in Lu Ziqing's mind. What are you so proud of? This battle of yours is full of mistakes and flaws. There's nothing good about it. If it weren't for your strength being stronger than the black armored boar, you would have died countless times by now. Is it that unsightly? He had clearly killed an exotic beast with a single slash, but it was still nothing good. Lu Ziqing was a little puzzled. You're still stubborn. The purple gold gourd snorted. Your response just now was completely reckless. There's no skill to speak of. With a sword, stabbing will always be more lethal than slashing. Just now, as long as you used the white cloud rising from the mountain Shu sword technique, you could have pierced its head from its eyes. Don't look down on the Shushan sword technique. The second mistake. Don't you understand the principle of avoiding the main force and attacking the weak points? Even if you wanted to slash, why did you have to slash from the back of its neck? That's where the neck bone is. If your strength was weaker, you wouldn't have been able to slash it at all. The throat, jaw, chest, abdomen, these are all weak points. One slash to kill is to attack the vital points, not to let you slash randomly. But those vital points were not exposed. Lu Ziqing had just answered when he was scolded by the purple gold gourd again. Are you a pig's brain? How did you learn the Tao of illusions and reality of swordsmanship? If you didn't expose the vital points, you created an opportunity to expose them. One slash to slash, why go through so much trouble? Now you can slash these exotic beasts with one slash. What if you can't kill them with one slash? What are you going to do? Wait for death? The purple gold gourd snorted. Okay, now I've sealed your strength. You can't kill these exotic beasts with one slash. In this trial, you must learn to use swordsmanship, skills, and brains to fight, not brute force. Sealing my strength. What there's danger? If you can't even pass this stage, what's the use of keeping you? I'm not going to serve you anymore. I'll go back and look for Master. The purple gold gourd roared angrily. For the next battle, I won't remind you a single word. Everything depends on you. If you can't pass this stage, you'll die. Yes. Lu Ziqing knew that the purple gold gourd meant well, and he also knew that his words were very correct. With the ultimate inheritance and foundation that far surpassed others, if he couldn't even pass the first stage of the martial artist trial, then he would really be the trash of the trash. The foundation is the foundation. I can't bite off more than I can chew. Only by building a solid foundation can you go further. Shu Mountain's introductory, swordsmanship, and basic movement skills, these all needed to be cultivated seriously. Then, come on. Lifting the long sword, Lu Ziqing's fighting spirit was aroused. Grandmaster, I won't let you down. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.